and Zhao Hu into distorted monsters. One of them had blood dripping from his giant claw, splattering onto the dim floor. Opposite them, Lu Ling frowned slightly. Who are you? You are the chief mechanic of the Red Soldiers, Lu Ling? Due to the side effects of the frenzy agent. Zhao Long's voice was hoarse. Come with us, and you can suffer less. Lu Ling remained silent, his hand resting on the belt of his nano armor. Zavina stood to his left, her golden brown hair moving as if stirred by an unseen wind, and her steel blue eyes glinted with a murderous intent. Be careful. These two might have injected some kind of temporary enhancement agent, Qin reminded from the side. When Lu Ling did not respond, the silent Zhao Long took the initiative. His speed, bolstered by the frenzy agent, broke through human limits, his fingers clawing through the air as he aimed for Lu Ling's throat. At that moment, a flash of silver appeared, a cold blade aimed directly at Zhao Long's wrist. So fast, Zhao Long was startled and instantly activated his alloy knuckle duster to block. Clang. The sound of metal clashing erupted in the corridor, sparks flying. The girl's twin blades steadied against the knuckle duster, the overwhelming force failing to budge her an inch. Her steel blue eyes flickering with murderous intent. How could a red soldier possess such a master? Immediately after, Zhao Long felt a tremendous force transmitted from the blade, causing his arm to numb and his heart to race in fear. Zavina suddenly exerted her strength, shaking Zhao Long back several steps. She slowly positioned herself in front of Lu Ling, her twin blades angled toward the ground, like a female leopard guarding its precious treasure, firmly protecting him behind her. Her strength was formidable, nearing the Alpha 2 level, but she was not his match. Zavina's gaze shifted to the lurking Zhao Hu. This person had yet to make a move, and she could not act recklessly. Nearing Alpha 2 level genes, 2E, Lu Ling's eyes flickered. The benchmark for Alpha 2 was 10, and now that Zavina said they were close, it meant both of them had abilities around 89 after taking the drugs. The brief silence did not last long as the effects of the frenzy agent began to fade. The Longhu brothers had no way out. Zhao Long bellowed, and his fist struck out once more like a raging storm. The knuckle duster tore through the air, becoming a blur, targeting Zavina's throat, heart, joints, and other vital areas. Zavina's twin blades danced, weaving a dense silver net that blocked all attacks. Clang, clang, clang. The sounds of metal striking resonated continuously, almost indistinguishable from each other. Their figures moved so fast under the flickering lights that they were nearly impossible to see. Big brother, Zhao Hu, seeing that the attack was ineffective, his eyes bloodshot, roared as he joined the fray. Qin instinctively wanted to step forward to intervene, but was held back by Lu Ling's grip on her wrist. Stand by. Qin's gene strength was only in, definitely not a match for Zhao Hu. Rushing in now would only mean death. Lu Ling's gaze remained fixed on the battlefield. His mind calm. He had absolute confidence in Zavina. True Alpha 2 level genes were rated E in the Imperial system, but these two were merely relying on drugs to forcibly elevate their abilities to near E levels. An insurmountable chasm separated them from Zavina. Moreover, she had activated nearly 10 genetic sequences, far beyond what this temporary enhancement could compare to. Zavina, don't hold back, finish it quickly. The moment the command was issued, the murderous intent in Zavina's eyes surged. She suddenly twisted her body, delivering a whip-like kick that struck Zhao Long's blocking arms with a whoosh. Bang! Zhao Long was sent flying like he had collided with a giant truck, soaring 7 to 8 meters before crashing heavily into the metal wall, producing a dull thud. Meanwhile, Zavina swiped her left hand at her waist, activating the nano armor that Lu Ling had purchased for her. In the next moment, silver-blue nanoparticles surged out like living creatures, enveloping her body in the blink of an eye, with the diamond-shaped tactical eye on her helmet glowing with a blue light. With the nano armor on, her aura instantly rose to a terrifying level that made one's heart race. Just as Zhao Hu, who had just charged over, raised his power hammer, he felt a blur in front of him, and Zavina had already vanished from her original spot. A loud sonic boom erupted in the corridor. Zhao Hu didn't even see her movement clearly before he felt an indescribable pain in his chest. In disbelief, he looked down to see dual blades piercing through his torso, blood dripping down the edges. Brother, Zhao Long roared as he lunged forward. Zavina then withdrew her blades and spun around, her combat boots smashing the floor tiles, delivering a spinning kick that sent Zhao Long flying once more. Zhao Long crashed through 3 alloy walls before finally coming to a stop, smoke and dust rising to engulf him completely. Lu Ling stood still, watching these two descendants who bore an uncanny resemblance to him, signaling Zavina to halt, and coldly asked, "Tell me, were you sent by Justin?" Zhao Long struggled to get up, but coughed out a large mouthful of thick, brown blood. It was the blood frenzy agent, Qian recognized. Blood frenzy agent? Qian immediately explained. After injection, pain perception is nullified for an hour. Muscle, bone, and cellular strength increase by 40%. If the time is up and a stabilizer is not administered, death will occur. I see, Lu Ling thought, realizing that these two had only an N-level genetic rating before the injection. But he hadn't expected such a thing to exist in this world. If someone at a level were to inject it, they would likely face grave danger today. In fact, he was overthinking. The entire Red Devil E-class was exceedingly rare. Qian dragged Zhao Long over and threw him at Lu Ling's feet. At this moment, he had already been severely injured by Zavina and was continuously coughing up blood. It was visibly clear that his cells were frantically healing the wounds. But this was a form of healing based on depleted resources, commonly known as a flash of light before death. His eyes were clouded. Having already suffered the side effects from Zavina's earlier attacks, it's clear that you are not Justin's diehard followers. I will give you a chance to submit to me. Zhao Long looked up at him. Why? Lu Ling did not answer but instead asked, what is your name? Zhao Long. After saying this, Zhao Long struggled to rise. Lu Ling immediately stepped back, and Zavina instinctively protected him from behind. There was no need for a fight. Once Zhao Long got up, he helped Zhao Hu to his feet. Zhao Hu's chest had been torn open with a large gash, groaning in pain. And it was clear to see his mangled insides moving, with blood and cells frantically trying to repair the damage. But it was futile. He wouldn't last long. Zhao Long knelt down on one knee, supporting Zhao Hu, and rapidly described Justin's plan from the beginning, his pace quickening, but his complexion grew darker. In the end, he pleaded, my lord, we do not wish to die yet. If you don't abandon us, we are willing to serve you. Lu Ling gestured, and Qian immediately tossed out 2 cell repair agents from her backpack. Take this. It can suppress the side effects of the blood frenzy agent. But it won't alleviate the pain, Qian said. Thank you. Zhao Long sincerely expressed his gratitude and first fed the medicine to his unconscious brother. Let's go. The green leaves are still waiting. Chapter 41, Sorrow and Madness Medical Center. Justin's nano-battle armor was already covered in bloodstains, and the life signs of his team members were flickering one by one on the visor's display. Out of the 12 elite members, only 3 remained behind him. Boss, the main forces are coming from the other side. The position has been compromised. A hoarse shout from another area came through the communicator, only to be cut off by an explosion. The door to the medical station had been violently breached, and they had wasted a full 10 minutes for this, resulting in 9 deaths. From the 12 minutes before, only 2 minutes were left now. 2 minutes. What can be done? The next wave won't just be a patrol team. Regret flooded him for having killed that informant. Justin's face darkened. Having come this far, he had no choice and nowhere to retreat. The laboratory was filled with the pungent smell of disinfectant and culture medium. The green leaves were turned away from the door, her grayish-green hair swaying gently as she hummed an ancient folk song. She was adjusting the neural connection parameters of the culture chamber, her slender fingers dancing over the holographic keyboard, seemingly oblivious to the crisis behind her. 2 assisting female aides cautiously drew their pulse pistols. Sir, the watchtower reports an intruder. Without turning around, the green leaves continued to hum. Dear, pass me the biological sample number 1. Suddenly, one of the female aides widened her eyes. The laboratory's blast-proof door was being twisted and deformed by outside forces. Bang! The last layer of the protective door was blown open, and Justin, clad in nano-battle armor, charged in through the smoke. Seeing the familiar figure busy at the workstation, his spirits lifted. Initially, he had little hope. After all, after such a long delay, the green leaves had ample time to escape. He raised his rifle and aimed at the 2 female aides, opening fire directly. To his surprise, the 2 had been well prepared, nimbly dodging into cover. One of them fired back with a pulse round that grazed Justin's visor, exploding on the wall and leaving a charred crater. TSK, Justin sneered. Even the aides were not to be underestimated. They better pray they don't get caught by me. The green leaves carefully placed sample number 1 into the petri dish, and only after the device descended did she let out a sigh of relief. She removed her gloves and turned around with a smile, asking, long time no see. Vice Captain Justin? Oh, who has upset you? Hearing the green leaves' mocking address, Justin remained unfazed. The Phoenix Bell was at death's door and still unaware. Come with me now, and I will ensure your survival. A dangerous glint flashed in the green leaves' eyes. Oh really? How do you know? As soon as she finished speaking, the 2 female aides fired again, the pulse rounds detonating in blue sparks on Justin's armor. He braced against the attack, swiftly closing the distance and delivering a punch that shattered one of the nitrogen shields deployed by one of them. Big sister. A muffled groan followed, and the figure was sent flying 10 meters away, smashing several biological petri dishes, light green culture medium streaming down from the wound on her forehead. The green leaves furrowed her brows. Do you want to wage war against us? Ha ha ha, what if we do? The green leaf squinted, realizing that Justin's audacity must have some backing, though she couldn't pinpoint what it was. Something was amiss. She glanced at the experimental devices behind her, then finally spoke. Stop. I'll go with you. Just then, a voice came from the doorway. I seem to have arrived at the wrong time. Before Lu Ling could finish, Zavina shot out like a blue lightning bolt. Her nano armor glinted coldly under the lights, and in an instant, the heads of the last 3 Blade team members had already soared into the air, blood forming strange droplets that floated slowly in the low-gravity environment. Justin immediately counterattacked, but found that the opponent's speed was ghostly. Even with the nano armor, he couldn't catch her. In a split second, a tremendous force struck his chest, sending him flying back. The impact was so strong that even the lining of his nano armor couldn't cushion it, causing pain to shoot through his entire body. This speed? Justin suddenly spat out a mouthful of blood, his vision turning a shade of crimson. He staggered to his feet, removed his helmet, one eye bloodshot and blurry, but he could still see the newcomer clearly. It's you. Justin's eyes flickered with resentment. It seemed those 2 useless fools had failed. He didn't expect Feng Ling to have arranged such a master beside her. Justin's voice grew lower, suddenly raising his gun to shoot, but Zavina was faster. A cold flash passing by, and his magnetic rail rifle was split in 2, with the blade immediately pressed against his neck. Such speed, such strength. How did such a formidable expert suddenly appear beside Feng Ling? What the hell has happened? How am I supposed to deal with this? After the shock, Justin's face darkened. He was unwilling to accept this, staring at the tip of Zavina's blade, and glanced at the green leaf. An overwhelming sense of despair and helplessness surged in his heart. Ha ha ha. He suddenly burst into mad laughter. Back then, I crawled for 10 years on that garbage planet just to earn a ticket to the Red Devil training camp, to gain the elite member status of the Red Devils. He had once torn apart 17 competitors with his bare hands, crafting weapons from their ribs, and breaking through in the desolate Death Island. He had knelt outside Madame Saroff's door for 3 days and nights, just for a chance to live. Now, the blood he spat was dripping from his chin onto Zavina's blade, stinking like the sewage of that garbage planet. Feng Ling, he roared in his throat. That bitch was just born into a better situation than me. The green leaf suddenly looked at him, expressionless. Just give me some more time. If only I have a bit more time. I can definitely take down the red soldiers. Justin's face twisted. I shouldn't be here. It's all that damned Lucius's fault. That damn Mamba. And Rachel. You high and mighty bitches. I've done so many dirty jobs for the Red Devils. And in the end, I end up like this. He chuckled bitterly. In my next life, I want to be born into a noble family. Before he could finish his sentence, he suddenly erupted. The damaged armor unleashing its last surge of energy. Wait. Greenleaf was about to intervene. Everyone, accompany me to the grave. Activate the backup hidden energy. Lu Ling decisively ordered. In Savannah's steel blue eyes, a flash of killing intent crossed as she forcefully crossed and separated 2 short blades. In a blink, the newly appointed leader of the blades met her end. Greenleaf, putting on gloves, hurried over to disable the self-destruct system of the nano armor. Then reached out to examine the scene, her brows furrowing. I didn't expect it to really be Justin. I thought it was a decoy. Justin? Lu Ling recognized the name, as the Zhao brothers had just mentioned him. The new leader of the Blades, Scott's successor. That was close. It turns out this person was quite a madman. If it weren't for decisive action, the consequences would have been unimaginable. He had grown stronger now. The internal dynamics of the Red Devils were unpredictable, and Lu Ling had to adopt a firm stance to protect his interests. This was also why he had just sought to recruit the Zhao brothers. His own power was still far from strong. The items have been delivered. You should return and check them, Lu Ling said as he took the suitcase containing personal belongings from Qin and handed it to Greenleaf. This made Greenleaf, who was lost in thought, chuckle softly, her gaze sidelong. I didn't expect such a big change in you. Greenleaf recalled the first time she met Lu Ling. He was naive, sincere, introverted, and clumsily hiding his desires. Who would have thought that in just half a year, he would undergo such a transformation? How to put it? It was hard to describe. At least the sincerity in his eyes was no longer visible. But that was a good thing. Fools don't survive long in this world, and even if they do, they suffer all kinds of oppression, with their fate in the hands of others. Thinking of this, Greenleaf couldn't help but sigh subtly. Wasn't she the same? Justin wasn't the kind of reckless person. His plans and motives were likely coerced, or there was some major event happening outside. Greenleaf pondered, realizing that this matter needed to be reported to Feng Ling urgently. Justin is Rachel's person. Why would he come to trouble you? Lu Ling asked, a bit puzzled, but couldn't he help but add a comment. Greenleaf paused, then suddenly chuckled lightly. The enmity between Justin and our Red Soldiers isn't new. Oh, 10 years ago, he competed with Feng Ling for the position of the Red Soldier leader. Greenleaf turned to collect samples, a hint of mockery flashing in her gray-blue eyes. Justin thought that with his qualifications, he could replace Feng Ling, even intending to treat me as a trophy. Unfortunately, he underestimated Feng Ling and me. Greenleaf's lips curled slightly. Back then, we had orchestrated his loss of several trusted subordinates, ultimately causing him to ruin several tasks assigned by Rachel, missing out on the position of the Red Soldier leader. Feng Ling had wanted to kill him, but was saved by someone, becoming Lady Sarah's dog. There's definitely something wrong. Lu Ling nodded thoughtfully as he looked at the few corpses. A prominent leader of the Blades should have at least 10 to 20,000 followers. How could they only mobilize this few for an ambush? Just then, a team of red soldiers rushed in. The Blades have rebelled. Multiple passages have been attacked. Organize defenses immediately. What? Justin is dead. How can the Blades still rebel? Lu Ling and Green Leaf exchanged glances. It's Rachel. Chapter 41. The rebel turns out to be myself on the top floor of the A District Tower. An entire floor of nearly 1,000 square meters was Feng Ling's personal bedroom. At this moment, she was leaning against the floor-to-ceiling window, gazing at the distant port with the ship Night Orchid, lost in thought. The hatch slid open, and Lian hurried in. Justin was dead, and his subordinates were rebelling with sharp blades. Feng Ling seemed to have anticipated this. It appeared Rachel had already discovered something. Let Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile lead the suppression and take over Area B, including the consortium. Lian was taken aback, her gaze shifting slightly. Are we targeting the consortium? All of it. Feng Ling waved her hand lazily, uninterested in further explanation. All supplies should be loaded onto the ship. We set sail in 1 hour. Lian instantly understood and respectfully withdrew. Not long after, an evacuation alarm sounded at the Red Soldier base, with urgent red lights flashing on everyone's faces. On the front line, 30 power armors shattered the ground. As the steel torrent led by Ghost Crocodile rolled over the defense line, the screams of the rebels rose and fell. It's power armor. Run. Where did the Red Soldiers get so many power armors? We need naval gun support. Where's Lord Justin? The boss is out of contact. Run. The sound of magnetic railgun rounds cut through the smoke, sealing the last questions forever in shattered visors. The iron boots of the Red Soldiers trampled through the blood-soaked ground, creating a rhythmic cadence of death on the shell-pocked battlefield. The regular formation of the sharp blades numbered nearly 8,000, but in reality, very few pirates had truly fought alongside Justin. Most were coerced into compliance. When Ghost Crocodile's power armor brigade appeared, they collapsed into disarray. After securing the battlefield, Ghost Crocodile and Bloodshark were ordered to take over Area B and the consortium region. I surrender. I give up. I negotiated with Leader Feng Ling before. She promised not to kill me. Hank knelt on the ground, trembling and shouting. Behind him were the main management of the collection station's consortium and the real power holder. Norgar had fled 7 days ago. All important assets had discreetly been transferred in batches 2 weeks prior, including a significant number of high-value trading-grade slaves. After inventorying the consortium's warehouse, Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile exchanged glances and couldn't help but chuckle. Damn it. Clearly, since 2 weeks ago, the Red Soldiers had been treated as outsiders. The true traitors were not the Sharp Blades, but themselves. In the deep space exhaustion mineral belt, 113 Australian dollars from the collection station, a massive refinery was operating silently. This colossal structure, composed of dozens of modules, resembled a steel palace floating in the universe, with countless engineering drones and small craft weaving a dense network of flight paths around it. In the port area, 12 black steel warships were slowly disengaging their departure mechanisms, their narrow, menacing silhouettes appearing particularly chilling under the starlight. It was a large-scale operation, with countless supply vessels moving back and forth like deep-sea fish, delivering various strategic materials to the mothership. Tens of thousands of pirates, under the command of their leaders, were orderly donning armor and boarding the ships. The reason the Red Devils could continue to grow to their current scale was due to the quasi-military management system of the Red Code. Normally pirates, once they changed clothes, became soldiers. Rachel had considerable ambition. On the top floor of the refinery, in the Grand Leader's office, Rachel stood before the panoramic window, observing the busy preparations outside. The cabin door slid open, and Lucius walked in with steady steps, stopping 3 paces away from Rachel. He respectfully bowed and said, "My lord, everything is ready. The Crimson Demon fleet is expected to arrive at the target area in 1 hour. However, that fool Justin failed to mobilize enough manpower and has already launched an attack on Area A, which has resulted in his execution by Feng Ling's people. At least it's a case of waste utilization." Rachel took a puff from her cigar and replied, "Let the Crimson Demon clear the collection station under the pretense of suppressing the Red Soldier Rebellion. Feng Ling might escape. So you should personally handle the customs to ensure she doesn't get out of Zhuangbai." Understood. Lu Ling was hurriedly packing his belongings, which didn't amount to much. Mainly some core components from dismantled space pods. He then had Savina call everyone in. Leading the group was Gira, who had been appointed as the deputy captain by Lu Ling. When Savina was unavailable, Gira led the team in training. Looking at the 8 vibrant young girls in front of him, Lu Ling felt a thrill inside. It was hard to deny he felt a twinge of excitement. They would be his first truly trusted subordinates. After inspecting everyone, Lu Ling took out dozens of Eve skill books from a safe. They had a heavy metallic texture and contained a wealth of core data. The skill books included subjects like spaceship maneuvering, Minmator frigate operations, Minmator destroyer operations, Minmator cruiser operations, Minmator battlecruiser operations, Minmator battleship operations, CPU management, scientific principles, energy grid management, capacitor systems operations, artillery research, and high-speed shooting theory, among others. Unlike skill capsules, skill books required slow learning but were cost-effective. Even so, they cost nearly 10 million star coins. These skills were enough to meet the threshold for piloting a Death Spiral-class battleship. This was Lu Ling's ultimate strategy. He was certain that if he purchased a ship from the Eve System Mall, it would not be something he could operate alone. Savina's eyes flashed with surprise as Lu Ling continued. From now on, you are to call me Captain in private. Remember to keep this confidential. It is our key to freedom. For the first time, Lu Ling spoke seriously, his tone grave as his gaze swept over everyone. The key to freedom? The girl's eyes lit up, looking at Lu Ling with instinctive trust. Then, under Savina's arrangement, they each received their own skill books. Lu Ling then took out a metal case. Your slave controllers and Imperial identity files are all here, currently under my ownership. When the opportunity arises, I will restore your original legal identities. Given his current status, he didn't even need Feng Ling's approval for the slave contracts. The shipping department directly classified them as Lu Ling's private property and sent over the identity files and slave contracts. According to the Imperial Slave Regulation Act, if a slave wishes to regain their imperial citizenship, they need both the identity file and the slave contract. One document proves the status of native imperial citizens, while the other records details from the era of slavery, including but not limited to contract ownership and transaction frequency. This effectively shifts the focus from the conflict between slaves and the empire. After all, as long as one can prove they are not a slave, then they are not a slave. I have never considered you to be slaves. Now, I am entrusting the custody of these documents to you. Lu Ling handed a metal box to Zawina, reminding her, be sure to take good care of it. If the plan ultimately fails, this will be your last resort. The room was so quiet that one could hear the sound of breathing. Suddenly, Gira stepped forward, knelt on one knee, and performed a standard Imperial Knight salute with her right hand on her chest. Captain, I vow to follow you to the death. Lu Ling was taken aback. He indeed wanted to win people's hearts, but he never thought about establishing a lord-vassal relationship with them. As a person from the 21st century, he had a clear understanding of his own position. But now it was different. This gesture in the Empire meant absolute loyalty, akin to the ancient recognition of a sovereign. He quickly helped Gira up. There is no need for that. I have never regarded you as such. You have given us the right to choose, allowing us to live with dignity. Gira interrupted him, her amber eyes locking onto Lu Ling's. That is enough. Before Gira could say more, Zawina suddenly knelt on one knee as well, performing a more solemn knight salute of Ataris. I too vow to follow you to the death. What are you making a fuss about? Lu Ling couldn't help but chuckle as he lifted her, whispering in her ear, if you want to leave, I won't let you go. Gira heard this clearly. The confident woman's lips curled up slightly. Captain, are you treating us differently? Lu Ling shook his head helplessly but then saw the other 6 girls exchanging glances before they all knelt on one knee in unison. The room's lighting cast a determined glow on their young and beautiful faces. The leader is a good person. I agree. We are willing to follow the captain to the death. Lu Ling looked at them and finally let out a soft sigh, his gaze softening considerably. All right, everyone, get up. Since you trust me so much, I will take full responsibility for you. But remember, from now on, without rules, there can be no order. His gaze was sharp, and his voice steady. Yes, the girls replied with a salute. After everyone left, Lu Ling stood alone in front of the window, looking out at the vastness of space. Lost in thought, he truly hadn't expected that a simple skill transfer and a speech to win hearts would turn out like this, but deep inside, a genuine, long-lost warmth was spreading. Chapter 42, The Great Retreat. Hurry, hurry, board the ship. Oh no, we can leave those behind. Don't be verbose. These are my dearest friends and brothers. How are we going to handle these slaves? Find the logistics department. Lu Ling was among the last to board the ship. As soon as he got on, he encountered a hurried Wangs, who was sweating profusely and clutching a data pad filled with unfinished inspection reports. Chief, the bridge is asking us to start the new engine immediately. However, it had just been assembled and had not undergone any testing yet. What if an energy backflow occurred? Lu Ling was somewhat surprised. Outside the porthole, the ship had already adjusted its posture well in advance, and shortly after the jump engine flashed, it disappeared from sight. Meanwhile, Justin's ship was quietly docked, shrouded in darkness with no lights. This gave him an ominous premonition. Go to the engine room. In the engine room, the giant reactor that once occupied most of the space had been completely dismantled, leaving only the empty metal walls. In its place was a hexagonal lattice array floating in the center, less than a meter in diameter, yet emitting a heart-pounding energy fluctuation that slightly distorted the surrounding air due to the energy field. The superconducting niobium-titanium alloy framework glowed coldly, and under the quantum glass shield, a blue plasma flowed like a living entity. The hexagonal phase lattice array stabilized the spatial structure through phase modulation, preventing the jump distortion coefficient from exceeding safe thresholds. Each hexagonal node was embedded with translucent pillar-shaped energy resonance rings that flickered with the energy fluctuations. Countless dark blue energy conduits connected the nodes like a network of blood vessels, with high-energy plasma flowing slowly like lava along the fractal heat dissipation patterns on the inner walls of the conduits. This was Lu Ling's masterpiece after localizing the Eve jump engine technology, though for him, it was merely a cost-free space capsule engine. Its energy consumption was only 28 of that of traditional fusion systems, yet it required 520 trillion field strength correction calculations every second. The main control computer of the Yangtze, an antique serving for 600 years, could not bear this computational load at all and had to be equipped with the photon-enhanced coprocessor produced by the Eve system. He had already verified this. These high-end goods procured from the underground market in Blackwater Bay still seemed outdated in Lu Ling's eyes, with at least a millennia of technological lag. To fully unleash the performance of this jump core, it also needed to work in conjunction with the small hyperspace speed regulator and inertia stabilizer from Eve. It was still the same escape plan from Blackwater Bay, only last time it was a temporary modification that led to the complete scrapping of the ship. The control console was located below the array, projecting a holographic interface that monitored the hyperspace distortion coefficient and status in real time. Current hyperspace distortion coefficient, 0.04, safety threshold, 1, jump preparation time, estimated 176 seconds. Estimated jump average speed, 96 ff, spatial channel pressure, standby, energy calibration. Waiting for calibration, the Eve space capsule engine, capable of $5 per second, loaded onto the 650,000 ton Yangtze only achieved 0.96 AUs, and the jump guidance time had also increased to 176 seconds. In this world, all hyperspace and subspace jumps had to adhere to the 4 fundamental laws of hyperspace travel. Hyperspace distortion theory. If the spatial distortion coefficient exceeds 1, it will lead to risks of spatial resonance, affecting spatial stability, and the jump must be terminated immediately. Otherwise, it could result in local space folding, hyperspace storms, hull tearing, subspace rifts, subspace wormholes, and gravitational wave storms. Hyperspace jump attitude calibration theory. Incomplete calibration of jump navigation posture, which means forcibly jumping during the guidance process may lead to deviation from the target position, resulting in unpredictable interstellar environments, and even falling into black holes, approaching supernovae, or being trapped in cosmic dust clouds, among other dangerous situations. Continuity theorem of space-time flow. During the jump process, it is essential to regularly monitor the flow of jump energy and the pressure of the hyperspace channel. If the pressure exceeds the safety threshold, the jump must be immediately terminated or energy redistribution must be carried out. Failure to adhere to this may lead to energy rebound, hyperspace collapse, space-time turbulence, or even the disintegration of the entire ship in hyperspace or jumping to an unknown space-time. Energy tunneling effect. At the end of the jump, speed must be gradually reduced to adapt to the inertia of returning to normal space. A sudden return or improper handling may result in biological hallucinations, engine meltdown, decreased hull integrity, and permanent loss of electronic systems. Wangs looked at the jump core with awe. Its precision seemed beyond human craftsmanship, almost a gift from a higher civilization. He eagerly awaited Lu Ling's command to initiate this miracle, but was doused with cold water instead. Wangs, go outside and stand by. Lu Ling's fingers danced across the control panel, continuously adjusting data, without lifting his head as he spoke. Zywina stays. Gira, you take people to guard the entrance of the engine room, and also, bring me the box I prepared earlier. Wangs was taken aback, opened his mouth to say something, but ultimately lowered his head and left the engine room. He couldn't understand why he, the one most suited to be the chief's assistant, was being sidelined. He felt unwilling but helpless. In the end, it was a misplaced expectation. When Gira took her team away, only Lu Ling and Zywina remained in the engine room. The box was, of course, just a decoy. He retrieved the actual equipment from the system warehouse and placed it in the slots. The photon coprocessor flickered with rainbow light, and the 3 sets of damping rings of the hyperspace adjustment device were as precise as works of art. Zywina silently took out her tools and connected the pre-installed cables of these 2 precision devices to the main control panel. According to Lu Ling's design plans, the main functions of the entire ship had already been integrated into these 2 separate modules. The hyperspace adjustment device was connected. Zywina's voice was calm and precise as she connected the last energy conduit to the damping ring. All 3 adjustment cores are online. Lu Ling checked everything. Let's go to the 2nd floor to install the inertial stabilizer. 10 minutes later, Lu Ling sent a system reboot communication directly to the bridge and decisively pressed the restart button. All devices went offline in an instant, then lit up again. And his gaze swept across the refreshed control interface. Current hyperspace distortion coefficient, 004. Safety threshold, 241. Jump preparation time, estimated 41 seconds. Jump efficiency level, 120 FF. Space channel pressure, stable. Energy calibration. Calibration completed, maintaining permanent continuous power supply. The number caused a slight upward curve at the corners of his mouth. The entire transplant system was designed by him using a certain engineering methodology, including various operational processes and interfaces, so he was incredibly familiar with it. It had now fully verified the versatility of the localization of Eve's skills and equipment. Immediately load antimatter. The communication from the bridge came in timely. It was Feng Ling. Lu Ling hadn't seen this commander of the Red Soldiers for a long time. My dear chief engineer, time is running out. Her voice carried the usual laziness but was laced with urgency. We can enter the jump at any time. He replied briefly. Feng Ling made a light sound of acknowledgement. And the communication was cut off. On the bridge, at the captain's seat, Feng Ling leaned against the armrest, her gaze sweeping over the data stream on the holographic projection. Let's begin, she ordered, her tone neither heavy nor light, yet it immediately put the entire bridge into a tense state. Received. The navigation officer slowly pushed the thrust valve to the maximum. The jump engine was preparing and calibrating the ship's posture. Suddenly, the navigation officer's voice halted, followed by incredulous shock. 41 seconds? What? How is that possible? This is after a complete restart of the ship. The crew members, who had worked on the bridge for years, let out low exclamations. No one understood better than they did what this number represented. A glint flashed in Feng Ling's narrow eyes, and the corners of her lips slightly curled up. She did not expect that the young man from the Federation, once looked down upon by everyone, could achieve such a level. She recalled some events from half a year ago, when that awkward man was given the label of the inferior, nearly losing his life, blushing at a teasing remark. Looking like a puppy lost in a wolf pack, apart from a will to survive, there was nothing particularly special about him. There were too many people in this world who wanted to survive. Who doesn't he want to live? Yet, this person gave her such an unexpected surprise. The optimization of the jump system not only meant a leap in the maneuverability of the ship, but also added significant strength to her plans. She was a woman with a strong desire for control and strategic vision, able to judge victory and defeat in every matter. He was indeed an extremely valuable talent, and it was worth the risk she took to invest 2 million star coins in him. Looking back, this deal now seemed to be a significant profit. Feng Ling, the tuning engineer of the Earth Federation's Dreadnought-class battleship, carefully pondered over these few words, which felt terrifyingly significant. 3:21. The countdown for the jump flashed a glaring red light on the holographic projection. The navigation officer shouted, "Jump engine start." Buzz. The entire ship slightly shook, accompanied by the low hum from the engine core, as the tail suddenly burst forth with dazzling light. The space ahead of the ship began to distort, rippling like satin crumpled by an invisible hand. Whoosh. After a blinding flash, the ship transformed into a streak of light and vanished from its position. From inside looking out the porthole, the starry sky warped rapidly. The stars were no longer stars but elongated into countless glowing threads, weaving a transparent, thin pathway through the folds of space. The space around the hull rippled like water, with each wave causing the strands of starlight to refract in strange ways. Not long after the night orchid departed, dozens of white rays suddenly exploded in the pitch-black universe surrounding the collection station, as if the space had been sliced open by a sharp blade, bursting forth with a dazzling brilliance comparable to that of a star. Swish, swish, swish. A fleet emerged from the transition corridor, resembling a pack of predators surfacing from the abyss. Leading the way was an Imperial cruiser that had undergone bloody modifications. Its dark hull painted with the crimson emblem of a chained skull, with dark red flames flickering in its eye sockets. This was the flagship of the Crimson Demon unit. The Crimson Demon. It looked like a giant shark stripped of its scales, its silhouette similar to that of the Rachel-class cruiser, but it was merely an empty shell. A creation illegally pieced together from 2 abandoned cruisers. Its armor was riddled with welding marks, and the bow had been crudely modified into a ram, with sharp alloy spikes still adorned with the wreckage of a merchant ship. On the bridge of the Crimson Demon, a tall figure slowly stood up, the mechanical joints emitting the hissing sound of hydraulic systems at work. The 23-meter-tall body nearly touched the exposed pipes on the bridge's ceiling. Is Justin still alive? Kareem peered through the porthole and saw the docked bloody kiss. Dead. The voice responding to him came from the shadows on the other side of the bridge, belonging to a middle-aged man, thin and pale as a corpse, with half-closed eyes. In front of him was an old-fashioned mechanical clock, its second hand ticking away. It seemed the intelligence was correct. Feng Ling had acquired an incredible talent. The Federation operative entrusted by my father? Kareem felt a stir of impatience. Sela, can you finish your sentences every time? Smart people will naturally understand. Sela summoned a holographic projection, displaying a portrait of Lu Ling preserved by the Crimson Legion, whispering, if the intelligence data is true, it's simply unbelievable. I fear the entire Empire's 63 star zones won't find a faster ship than the Night Orchid. Noticing that Sela was ignoring him, Kareem snorted coldly, his mechanical arm tightening into a fist. He detested the way this sinister man spoke in riddles, and loathed his controlling attitude even more. Yet, every operation of the Crimson Demon Unit relied on this behind-the-scenes manipulator. Nearly every action was orchestrated by Sela. Even his father, Rachel, had insisted he follow Sela's advice in external affairs. Kareem called over 2 burly assault team leaders. You two, take people to take over the Bloody Kiss. Then Kareem summoned his alluring and seductive aide. With Sela's presence, this aide's daily role was to be his eye candy. As for strategizing, of course, she was well versed in all 3 options, excelling in each. Haha. Kareem squeezed the aide's shapely rear with his remaining arm, saying, my dear, you are the only one I trust here. You will be the captain of the Bloody Kiss. The beautiful and voluptuous aide threw him a flirtatious glance, swaying her hips as she led her team away. Sela observed the flirting with a cold eye, then shut off the projection and walked to the porthole. Given Fengling's personality, she wouldn't leave behind a ship that could be used, which might have an ambush. Kareem only turned back after his heart had left the bridge, muttering, maybe they left in a hurry? Besides, why would I care for this scrap metal when I could have a mechanic from the Federation? Sela looked over in surprise and said seriously, that's rare, you make a good point. Kareem felt a bit elated. The blood prison was 385 meters long and 95 meters wide, and its belly slowly opened a hatch, releasing several small boats heading towards the Bloody Kiss, which was quietly docked at the collection station. Suddenly, the radar officer on the bridge turned pale. Sir, we've detected a large number of jump signals in the area. The identification code is the highest threat level, Red, in the warning sequence of the Red Devil. The highest threat level could only belong to the Navy of the Zhuanbei Autonomous Region. They had indeed been schemed against. Sela sighed deeply. In the void, dazzling white flashes erupted continuously. 1 ship, 2 ships, 3 ships. A total of 25 silver-white steel starships majestically entered the battlefield. Their lines were cold and grand, their hulls smooth as mirrors, reflecting the distant starlight. At the bow, they all bore the insignia of the Zhuanbei family, a one-eyed eagle clutching a blue planet in its talons. Until the last flash arrived. A massive battleship calmly descended into the fleet, its 550-meter-long hull covered in matte white composite armor, with overlapping turrets and missile silos resembling rugged mountain ranges, dark and profound. Its posture was incredibly domineering and majestic. This was the Imperial Standard Thunder Fury-class battlecruiser, a true active-duty warship. Not some ancient relic that pirates had been using for thousands of years. The Zhuanbei Navy forcefully breached the Red Devil Fleet's systems and communications, delivering a cold judgment. I am Claude, the Supreme Commander of the Zhuanbei Second Triumph Fleet. Shut down your engines, disarm, and those who surrender will not be harmed. Panic had already spread across the Red Devil's bridge, and now it exploded into chaos as all the pirate commanders were taken aback and thrown into disarray. It's Claude. What do we do? Everyone calm down. Kareem shouted, Fleet, listen to my orders. Are you insane? Sela sharply interrupted. You're the one who's insane. Just then, a violent fireball illuminated everyone's eyes. It was the Bloody Kiss. It suddenly exploded from within, the shockwave sweeping across the collection station's airspace, causing the nearby Red Devil battleships to shake violently, and pirates in the zero-gravity corridor scattered and fell. No, my heart. Kareem screamed in agony, feeling as if he would die from the pain. Useless. A cold glint flashed in Sela's eyes. This was Fengling's scheme to use you. You were supposed to board. Report. We have been locked on. The radar officer's throat tightened, his expression alarmed. The last time the Red Devils were caught by the Navy was 8 years ago, when many brothers died. Yet it didn't shake the ironclad Zhuanbei Navy. The gap in starship performance and commander skill was simply too vast. Sela immediately took over the fleet's communication. Surrender. Everyone surrender. Kareem couldn't believe it. Surrender? Does that mean my dear heart has died in vain? Sela was utterly fed up. He couldn't understand what Rachel had done to produce this half-witted fool. But at that moment, he didn't have the mood to explain. He directly drew his gun, aiming at Kareem's third leg. Just say Rachel is your father. Got it. He couldn't reach Kareem's head. This idiot was 2 meters 3 tall. Are you out of your mind? If I say it out loud, I'm finished. Kareem retorted disdainfully. I see you have ill intentions to harm me. Someone come here. Where's everyone? But facing a formidable enemy, the pirates chose to obey Sela. These subordinates, who were already under his control, now completely ignored Kareem. They would never have the courage to challenge the naval forces. The battleship, with its enormous sea-layer deck, had been cleared, appearing desolate and empty. Tens of thousands of pirates were being escorted here, with thousands of attack drones hovering ominously overhead, and hundreds of powered armor units standing by on the perimeter. "Kneel!" the guard barked. The pirates all dropped to their knees, and without hesitation, Sela slammed his knees down on the cold steel plate. Only Kareem and a few of his trusted subordinates remained standing. This scene naturally caught the guard's attention. He walked up to a young pirate, pulled out a list, and asked flatly, "Name?" The newcomer, eager to impress after just aligning with Kareem, sneered, 34, screw you. If you want to know, crawl under my legs." Kareem was shocked. This was a valuable talent. The guard chuckled, scrolled through the list, and eventually put it away, staring at him. "Sorry, your name isn't on the bounty list." A drone floated over, the cold barrel aimed at his temple. The newcomer swallowed hard, but his hands and feet were shackled with magnetic cuffs, unable to escape. In a flash, his head exploded like a watermelon, crimson juice spraying everywhere. The headless body dropped to its knees, slowly collapsing. The guard then strolled towards the next one. Kareem suddenly dropped to his knees, hunched over, and shouted, "Don't kill me. Don't kill me. My father is Rachel." "Rachel?" The guards huddled together, snickering. "Ha ha. Is that the green one? Shoo. Be careful. He might send someone to assassinate you. This guy is actually his son. Ha ha. So you're all Red Devils then?" The lead guard stroked his chin, aware that they faced countless pirate organizations each year, and the Red Devils were one of the larger groups. Operating in the region for nearly 20 years, with severe internal and external collusion, often caught and then escaping. Which faction of the Red Devils? Clearly, the guards were very familiar with the Red Devils. "Red Ghost," Kareem answered honestly, clearly stating, "My name is Kareem. Rachel is my biological father, and I am his 242nd son." "Oh, you remember that quite well," the guard replied, pulling out the list again to search. "Kareem Rachel? Your name isn't on the bounty list, but your half-witted characteristics are quite obvious." The guard, skeptical, searched again and waved his hand in disappointment. "I thought I had caught a big fish, but it seems you are useless." A drone floated in, and Kareem trembled, suddenly pointing at the silent seller. "Check him. He must be on the list." "Oh, I'll give you a chance." The guard waved his hand, and just as the drone was about to press its cold barrel against Kareem's temple, the charging indicator light slowly went out. Kareem breathed a sigh of relief. The guard approached the silent seller, asking for his name. "Seller Cassida, wanted code ZAB 2374865. The guard pulled out the bounty list and began searching, and upon seeing the results, was pleasantly surprised. "Goodness, 800,000 star coins. Caught a big fish, brothers." Cheers erupted among the guards, and several fellow guard captains rushed over, envious expressions on their faces. Seller remained silent and stated, "He is indeed Rachel's son. I can provide you with a contact channel and am also willing to pay a ransom." "What are you offering? You are not even a citizen of the Dominion." The guard captain dismissed him, but still caught on to the crucial point. "Wait, you mean you can directly contact Rachel?" "Yes. Wait a moment." The guard captain immediately summoned several subordinates and pointed at Seller. "Isolate him." Chapter 44. Earthlings in the Void. 113 Australian dollars from the collection station. At the main base of the Red Devil refinery. At the port, 15 warships were in urgent resupply, among which 3 were converted armed transport ships. On the top floor, Rachel and Lucius were formulating a plan to eliminate Fengling. For this, Rachel had gathered the last 3 operational departments of the Red Devil, Fleet, Fortress, and Red Ghost. Now that the Red soldiers had defected and the blade had been written off, the overall strength of the Red Devil had weakened, but not significantly. As long as the consortium remained in control, the comprehensive strength and resources of the Red Devil would continue to grow. Fengling was very likely to have escaped to Blackwater Bay. Lucius analyzed on the strategic star map, stating that the quickest exit from Zhuangbai would be the Colossi Deep Space Acceleration route, but the Yangtze had no security identification code. "So I believe she would definitely try to escape to Blackwater Bay to find a way to purchase a security code." Rachel nodded thoughtfully, noting that only those 2 could sell the codes, and they needed to intercept anyone before Fengling met them. "Yes." But just then, his device vibrated, causing his hefty body to momentarily stiffen. "You may leave now." Lucius respectfully exited the room. Rachel quickly pulled out the communicator and connected, his tone unusually tense. "My lord." A very young voice came from the other end, carrying an oppressive tone of authority. "Rachel, your wings are getting harder." "What did I tell you?" "My lord." "What do you mean? Kareem is your son, right?" The voice gradually turned cold. Rachel's heart sank. "Yes. Good. Let's start with your son. No need to collect the body." "My lord." "Wait." Rachel squinted, her pupils rapidly processing some information, and pleaded, "Please give me another chance." "Another chance?" A light laugh came from the other end of the communication, as if they had heard an amusing joke. "How many chances have I given you?" Rachel fell silent, her expression shifting between hope and despair. "Rachel, you are just a dog I keep. How many times have you messed up the tasks I've assigned you?" What use are you to me? My lord, right. You mentioned you would give me an explanation about the key issue. Heh, Rachel, you really have some nerve. If I don't ask, you won't say anything, right? Has it been half a year, and you still haven't figured it out? Fine beads of sweat appeared on Rachel's forehead. She knew the other party's patience was wearing thin. My lord, please give me 5 more days. I've already found a lead. A young voice came through. Sounding distant, no need. You're just a useless piece of mud. My lord, wait. I have an important piece of information that will surely be valuable to you. One of my subordinates is a traitor and has a mechanic from the Earth Federation in his grasp. Really? A tuning engineer for a large battleship from the Earth Federation? Rachel emphasized the words battleship heavily. The communication fell silent. This silence felt like a dull knife, slowly cutting through Rachel's nerves. She could hear her own heavy breathing and even the faint sound of sweat droplets sliding down her forehead, hitting the leather chair. A tuning engineer for a large battleship from the Earth Federation? The young voice finally spoke again, this time with a hint of amusement. Rachel, is this your last words? Rachel's throat tightened, but she knew this was her last chance. Absolutely. His name is Lu Ling. The Star Shark-class destroyer he modified, the Night Orchid, had a jump speed of only 45 ff 6 months ago, but now it exceeds 70 ff. Oh, the communicator's voice was puzzled before falling silent again. But this time, Rachel sensed a subtle shift in the other party's attitude. A few seconds later, the young voice resumed, seemingly having confirmed something, with an unpredictable tone. Rachel, why is it that every time you're about to die, you manage to bring me a little surprise? Rachel's tense muscles finally relaxed somewhat. But she didn't dare let her guard down. My lord, as long as you give me another chance, I promise, I don't need your useless abilities. I truly can't commend them. If I were you, I'd be embarrassed to be alive. Rachel's nerves tensed again. I will personally take action. You'd better pray that what you said about the key failure is true. I can temporarily overlook it, and I will return the red ghost to you. But if you disappoint me again, he didn't finish his sentence, but Rachel understood the unspoken threat. Yes, my lord, I will definitely get it done. The communication was cut off, and Rachel slumped in her chair, feeling as if she had just been pulled from the water, beads of sweat already forming on her forehead. The noble and astonishing background of the other party was not something someone of her lowly status could provoke. Taking a deep breath, Rachel turned off the blocking device, her voice regaining its former authority. Lucius entered, standing respectfully in front of the desk. My lord, the fleet is ready and can set off at any time. Rachel's gaze fell on the strategic star map, where the coordinates of Blackwater Bay still flickered with a red dot. This time, failure was not an option. In the void 10,000 kilometers away from Blackwater Bay, a white light shone as the Night Orchid slowly landed. In the engine room, Lu Ling recorded some data. The consumed antimatter was greater, and the circulation speed was faster, likely due to the aging of the magnetic confinement device. The sound of the hatch sliding open interrupted his thoughts. Savannah walked in, her silver-gray combat suit accentuating her tall and athletic figure. Greenleaf is here. Lu Ling felt speechless. This woman never brought good news. However, what he didn't know was that the bridge was now engulfed in silence. The navigator's finger hovered over the holographic star map, his pupils slightly dilated. The tactical officer stared at the radar screen, his throat moving involuntarily. Even the usually talkative communications officer kept his mouth shut, as if afraid of disturbing something. The chief navigator confirmed their arrival. The navigator could hardly believe it. The journey originally expected to take an hour had only taken around 20 minutes. Feng Ling rarely showed a hint of a smile. The Red Blade and Red Fong had set out before them and had only traveled halfway. Clearly, she was very pleased with the transformation of the Night Orchid. Lian, you take command. Feng Ling stood up and issued the order. Yes. Lian rose and took her place at the captain's seat. As she sat down, the mechanical structure of the chair emitted a faint hum, as if adapting to its new owner. A platform beside her descended, raising a stand with a red nano-armor belt. Feng Ling tightened the belt, and the nanoparticles immediately spread like living beings, covering her combat suit to form a layer of dark red nano-armor. She looked at the holographic communication screen. Send a message for Chief Mechanic Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile to have 60 skilled hands on standby at the D7B deck. The Night Orchid was designed with a shark-like streamlined style, positioned as a high-speed assault ship. It measured 275 meters in length, 115 meters in width, and 65 meters in height, with a maximum capacity of 500 personnel. However, it was currently very crowded, holding over 6,000 people, half of whom were private slaves of the Red Army. The ship had a total of 16 decks, starting with D1 to D16. The hangar deck was located on the belly of the Night Orchid at the D7 level, divided into 2 positions, D7A and D7B. Remember, when Mu Lin arrives, form a defensive formation and stand by 100,000 kilometers away from Blackwater Bay. Do not respond to any communications except from me, including Rachel or Sarah. Lian's heart sank. Feng Ling turned to leave, but suddenly stopped. She looked at Lian and beckoned her over. As Lian approached, Feng Ling grasped her chin with a firm but gentle touch. From an angle unseen by others, Feng Ling pulled out a note from inside her chest armor, leaning close to Lian's ear. After I leave, imprison the people on the list. Her breath brushed against Lian's ear. Remember, from this moment on, we are no longer the Red Devils. The note contained only one name, Greenleaf. Lian's fingertips trembled slightly as she looked into Feng Ling's eyes, which revealed a question. But Feng Ling did not respond and turned to leave. Sometimes, power struggles occur in the blink of an eye, and as the leader of the Red Army, Feng Ling naturally has a keen sense. Of course, the most crucial thing is that she is clear about what she is doing and has plans in place. Chapter 45, Feng Ling, Engine Room. Lu Ling was chatting casually with Greenleaf, and he had a rough idea of Greenleaf's purpose for coming over, while also receiving orders for a transfer. You might want to consider my suggestion, Lu Ling said with rare sincerity, then took the nano armor belt from Zawina's hands. Greenleaf's eyes flickered as he watched Lu Ling's departing figure, deep in thought. Just as the hatch opened, Lu Ling paused and stepped back out. Approaching him were Lian and 4 female guards he had never seen before, their dark red nano armor glinting coldly under the dim lights. Their visors were not activated yet, and each of them was strikingly beautiful. Their weapons were already disengaged from safety, which is standard configuration for executing internal cleansing tasks on the ship. Lu Ling's gaze lingered for a moment on the metal insignia of a soaring goose on their chest armor. Was this the rumored goose team? Look, here they come for you. Lu Ling glanced at Greenleaf, a hint of complex emotions flashing in his eyes. In fact, he had sensed this long ago. Lian stopped 2 meters away from Lu Ling Chief. She addressed him with newfound respect, acknowledging the technical prowess he had displayed in recent days. Had it not been for his pivotal role in turning the tide during the battle at Blackwater Bay, she would have already met her demise under the cannons of the Black Sail. Lu Ling slightly nodded and calmly left the engine room with Zawina. The hydraulic sound of the hatch closing had not yet faded when the 4 Goose Team guards fanned out in a semicircle, surrounding Greenleaf in the center. Chief Medical Officer, Lian looked at Greenleaf, her tone devoid of any emotion. Please. Greenleaf sighed softly, understood. D7B deck, hangar. The vast space was brightly lit, filled with the low-frequency hum of landing craft engines warming up and the busy sounds of machinery. Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile had already lined up with 60 elite pirates, all dressed in black combat suits with lightweight armor modules, some even carrying nano belts at their waists. These items are quite valuable. With their helmet visors down, only their excited yet puzzled eyes were visible. They were well equipped with electromagnetic assault rifles, energy grenades, and magnetic climbing ropes, far exceeding the standard configuration for landing at Blackwater Bay. Bloodshark leaned against the edge of the landing bay with his signature Skull Crusher heavy shotgun, while Ghost Crocodile stood silently beside him, clad in heavy power armor. The fierce scar on the face of this recently joined warrior looked even more menacing under the lights. Boss, are we heading to Blackwater Bay? Isn't this a bit too much? An old pirate beside Bloodshark couldn't help but ask in a lowered voice. Bloodshark did not respond, merely watching the Goose Team assembling in the distance, an ominous premonition spreading in his heart. The 6 female warriors were also clad in a higher grade of dark red nano armor than ordinary soldiers, moving swiftly, accurately, and silently, like precision killing machines. Their presence indicated that Feng Ling would personally lead the team and would be going all out. He had followed Feng Ling for many years and was well aware of the style of this leader of the Red Soldiers. In a chaotic place like Blackwater Bay, intelligence, connections, and covert operations were essential, and this was Feng Ling's area of expertise. Such a large mobilization and heavy armament indicated one thing. The operation was extremely dangerous. Or perhaps, after years of bloodshed, the Bloodshark was sensing death for the first time. Just then, Feng Ling arrived on an anti-gravity skateboard, her dark red nano armor gleaming coldly under the bright lights of the hangar. Her red hair was tied in a high ponytail, swaying slightly as the skateboard came to a sudden stop, her narrow phoenix eyes scanning the crowd with a sharp gaze. Everyone unconsciously straightened their backs and focused their attention. The Luoyan guard immediately moved towards her position upon noticing her arrival. Everyone's here? Her voice was not loud, but the hangar fell noticeably silent. The Bloodshark stepped forward. The chief engineer hasn't arrived yet. Should we send someone to hurry them? Feng Ling despised tardiness, and the Bloodshark silently mourned for Lu Ling for 3 seconds. The last pirate who was late had been thrown into the reactor for cremation, leaving no ashes behind. However, to his astonishment, Feng Ling merely nodded after hearing the report, her tone unnaturally calm. Well, let's wait. What's going on? The corners of Bloodshark's eyes twitched slightly, and he instinctively turned to glance at his trusted subordinates, whose expressions shifted subtly. This was mainly due to the rumors surrounding Lu Ling's repeated casual visits to the D10 deck over the past 6 months. After all, both the Blood Shark and Ken, seasoned pirates who had been in the Red Soldiers for over a decade, didn't even know which way the elevator doors on D10 opened. Meanwhile, at the entrance of the hangar, Lu Ling was walking briskly alongside Shi Weina. He was still thinking about Greenleaf. The data collection chip from the space capsule had originally come from her, and he felt uneasy about an old acquaintance's downfall. The chief medical officer of the Red Soldiers had been taken away, and he was scared. When the cunning rabbit dies, the hound is cooked. He understood this principle all too well. But at that moment, Lu Ling was more concerned about another possibility. Feng Ling's handling of Greenleaf was too unusual. With her character, traitors were always killed on the spot, never merely imprisoned. We're almost there. Shi Weina keenly sensed his unease and lowered her voice to ask, "Are you still thinking about what just happened?" "You need to urge them to learn how to apply their knowledge quickly," Lu Ling whispered. "The situation could change at any moment. We need to speed things up." Understood. When they finally entered the hangar, all eyes turned toward them. Feng Ling's gaze landed on him, and the corners of her mouth lifted slightly. Blood Shark felt a sharp twitch at the corner of his eye. "Well, this confirms it." Lu Ling maintained his composure and bowed slightly. "Sorry, the final adjustments on the Yangtze took some extra time." Feng Ling's gaze suddenly shifted to Shi Weina, and Lu Ling immediately stepped aside to perfectly shield Shi Weina, stating, "This is my private slave, proficient in close combat. I've heard of her." Feng Ling said with a meaningful tone, "You were the one who killed Justin, right?" As the words fell, Blood Shark and Ghost Crocodile immediately cast their scrutinizing gazes. The seemingly frail girl with golden brown long hair was actually the mysterious assassin rumored to have single-handedly killed Justin. That figure? TSK. Envy flashed in Blood Shark's eyes, and the flames of gossip burned fiercely in his heart. He glanced at Shervina, then secretly peeked at Feng Ling, quietly giving a thumbs up to Lu Ling. Shervina stood quietly behind Lu Ling, her eyelids lowered, and her beautiful eyelashes cast a faint shadow, seemingly unaware of the situation. The universe was dim. On the left side of the deck of the Night Orchid, 3 sharply designed assault landing craft surged out, with Lu Ling and Shervina assigned to Feng Ling's craft. The space inside the craft was cramped. He fastened his seatbelt, sitting among a group of women. Apart from Shervina, the others were like cold sculptures, their helmet visors reflecting faint light, with only the subtle sound of breathing rustling through the helmet's communication devices. Feng Ling piloted the craft herself, full throttle, moving at high speed. The moment they detached from the deck of the Night Orchid, Lu Ling felt like a bullet shoved into a cannon. The immense overload pressure pinning him firmly in his seat, the seatbelt digging deeply into his shoulder blades. This speed was at least thousands of meters per second. But even at this reckless speed, the vast void of 10,000 kilometers lay between the landing craft and Blackwater Bay, a more despairing distance. Fortunately, his genes had been significantly enhanced. Lu Ling managed to suppress the surging blood and dizziness in just a few minutes. It wasn't until half an hour later that the team reached the outermost area of the Shattered Star Ring near Blackwater Bay. This was the most chaotic metal graveyard, filled with the wreckage of countless sunken warships and twisted space station skeletons. Irregularly sized meteorite fragments were as dense as solid missiles, stirred and rotated by the chaotic gravity of Blackwater Bay, enveloped in deadly ion radiation storms, forming a constantly churning dense vortex. About 300 kilometers further in from here was the site where the Red Blade and Black Sail Princess had exchanged fire. The 3 small boats plunged into the vortex like ants falling onto leaves. The hull sensors emitted piercing alarms. "Hold tight," came Feng Ling's warning from the cockpit. Before the words were finished, the craft suddenly made a sharp turn and roll. The immense centrifugal force made Lu Ling's vision darken, the seatbelt constricting him to near suffocation, his stomach churning painfully in his abdomen. Damn it! Outside the narrow porthole, a piece of debris the size of a house, the core of a discarded reactor, was swirling with sharp metal fragments, brushing against the hull and colliding with another piece of metal wreckage, bursting into a dazzling shower of sparks in the darkness. Lu Ling had not received any professional training for such situations, and this assault craft, in pursuit of pure speed and firepower, was not equipped with gravity-reducing frameworks. If he were still the frail, in-level genetic type from before, he would likely have passed out or even suffered a ruptured blood vessel by now. The lawless area in Blackwater Bay, pieced together from countless space debris, abandoned ships, and remnants of space stations, slowly and dangerously magnified in his field of vision. This was the first time Lu Ling gazed at it from thousands of kilometers away. It resembled a massive, irregular, rusted metal tumor, surrounded by countless dense space stations and debris from starships, exuding a chaotic and lifeless aura illuminated by neon lights, as if isolated from the world. "Watch out for the water hooks and mines in the bay," Blood Shark warned loudly over the communication channel, his tone tense, clearly experiencing the same hellish journey. Before his words fell, the vessel suddenly shook violently. The engine's hum turned piercing, and a blinding white light erupted outside the porthole, engulfed in flames. Savina, looking out the window, suddenly narrowed her pupils and quickly activated the nano battle armor helmets for herself and Lu Ling. In the next moment, the terrifying sound of ruptured conduits and sparks exploded inside the cabin. A metal fragment pierced through the 130mm thick homogeneous alloy armor plate right next to Savina's seat. A cold, sharp angle hung above Lu Ling's head, swaying and hitting the helmet of the battle armor. Damn! Lu Ling's throat tightened as he gripped the safety belt tightly, thinking that if he had known the periphery of the bay was this dangerous, he would never have come. The cabin was instantly illuminated by red alarm lights, and a nearby member of the team quickly pulled out a cutting tool and a can of adhesive, spraying foam balls to seal the breach. However, aside from Lu Ling, who was still shaken and instinctively clinging to the safety belt, the others tensed their bodies. Using incredible core strength to counteract the immense inertia caused by the vessel's wild rolling, gripping the safety devices tightly. Their bodies adjusted their center of gravity and posture naturally with each violent jolt, like seasoned sailors battling a raging sea. Lu Ling never expected that this life-threatening blow that tore the cabin wall was merely the beginning. Chapter 46. Deadly Rapids. The Juam family has ruled this stellar system for over 2,000 years. As hereditary counts of the Partia Empire, their bloodline flows with the genes of conquerors. Whether during the era of rampant piracy and colonial expansion or the new and old golden ages, the Juam family has maintained its dominance through iron-fisted means. Their method of dealing with pirates is summed up in one word: kill. However, the Partia Empire is a monarchy based on slavery. In an economic system heavily reliant on the slave population trade, resistance will inevitably sprout and grow, and freedom cannot be extinguished. Long-term internal strife and corruption have continuously eroded the ruling power of this massive family, ultimately giving rise to lawless places like the Bay right under their noses. The Juam Navy has organized multiple crackdowns, but has never been able to completely eradicate this tumor. It is not that they cannot, but rather that they are unwilling. The cost of completely eliminating the Bay is too high, not proportional to the benefits. However, this does not mean they will compromise with this thorn in their side. Today, the Bay appears to be a paradise for pirates, but deep within, there must be shadows of the Juam family, continuously nurturing this vast and intricate network of interests. In this star region, pirate organizations grow like weeds, and the Crimson Devils are among the most notorious. The outer area of the Bay lies 120 kilometers away from the space station. In the void, 3 beams of light that tore through space flickered in succession, and 3 black warships suddenly emerged, their hulls uniformly painted with the emblem of a stronghold. The Stronghold, one of the 6 divisions of the Crimson Devils, possesses strength only second to the fleet of a certain renowned figure and a powerful consortium, specializing in siege and defense. Hence the name Stronghold. Leading the fleet, the Steel Tooth commanded a triangular formation, with the other 2 ships being Imperial-class escort vessels. Mamba sat in the captain's seat, his expression unusually serious as he contemplated something while stroking his chin with one hand. "Connect me to the office at Blackwater Bay and confirm the whereabouts of the Night Orchid," he instructed. After much thought, Mamba decided it was unwise to recklessly enter Blackwater Bay. Feng Ling was not to be trifled with, and it was always better to be cautious. Justin was a lesson learned. He only wished to meet that large fool occasionally in dreams, not to reunite in some heavenly way. The communications officer soon relayed a response. "Sir, there is no docking information for the Night Orchid." "Understood. It seems we arrived quite early. All ships, remain on standby." Mamba adjusted the angle of his seat back and leaned back. Indeed, he was preparing to take it easy during this grand capture operation. Earning a couple of thousand star coins a month was not worth risking his life. Let others fight for this hot potato of a merit. His vacant gaze turned toward the metallic ceiling, and he suddenly found himself missing that fool Justin a bit. Although he lacked intelligence, they had shared similar ambitions at one time. "Let's play a card game," he mused, lifting his eyelid and beckoning with a finger, a signature. Mischievous smile creeping onto his face. The alluring female officer beside him immediately understood. However, unbeknownst to Mamba, Feng Ling had already slipped through the debris ring and entered Blackwater Bay right under his nose. Between the Blackwater Bay space station and the all-consuming debris ring, there lay a relatively calm vacuum zone, playfully dubbed the death buffer zone by the outlaws, known as the safety line. At the boundary of the safety line, 3 black landing craft, their edges blurred and sparking, burst forth in a near-disintegrated manner, carrying with them the lingering ionized dust and searing metal debris from the most dangerous metal vortex. The extent of their damage was shocking. Thick armor plates were torn, dented, twisted, and rolled back, exposing the menacing conduits and charred inner cushioning layers beneath. Buzz. All sensor arrays in the vicinity were instantly activated. The 5 patrol boats of Blackwater Bay, located 30 kilometers away, received warning signals immediately. "What the hell? What's going on? Has the Zhou B Navy breached in?" A young pilot in a nearby patrol boat turned pale. Soon, the control tower at Blackwater Bay issued orders to search the abnormal area, compelling the pilot to grit his teeth and change course. As he approached, his gaze locked onto the three battered landing craft, his eyes widened in disbelief. And his mouth fell open unconsciously. What the heck is this? Landing craft? His mind went blank, as his common sense was crushed by the sight before him. How could such thin armor survive in a place like that? He abruptly grabbed the internal communicator, his voice distorted with extreme shock. Old Bob. Did you see that? They came out from the debris ring. It's the rumored ghost ship. A hoarse, aged voice echoed from the communicator. Heh, kid. There's no ghost ship, just passing through the turbulent zone of the debris ring. Back in my day, when I was chased by the Zhuangbai Navy, I swam right through it. However, the young patrol boat pilot caught the complex emotions of awe on the other end of the communicator. Crazy. Old Bob took a deep drag from his pipe. Boasting about swimming was just to soothe and suppress the panic of his younger crew. When he was forced into the turbulent area by the Zhuangbai Navy, hundreds of boats were there, but only his survived. Only he knew that the turmoil in his heart was far more overwhelming than any time he had been chased by the Navy. He flicked away the ash, watching the sparks extinguish. Inside the landing craft, Lu Ling felt dizzy. He swore that he would definitely fall sick if he ever went on a mission with Feng Ling again. They were all a bunch of lunatics. Instead of taking the wide road, they had to crawl through the damn sewage ditch. The small cabin was filled with the pungent smell of metallic repair foam, which had filled every gap. The Luoyan guard seemed to have gotten used to it, skillfully taking out high-frequency vibrating daggers to cut through the overflowing foam. These metal repair agents could not be processed immediately, otherwise the entire landing craft would disintegrate in an instant. My chief mechanic, check the wiring system. We can't stall here. Feng Ling's order came through, and Lu Ling sighed in resignation. Just as he was about to get up, a Luoyan guard had already briskly pushed over 3 spare parts boxes. The lids popped open, revealing neatly arranged cables and connectors of various specifications, clearly well prepared in advance. The moment they burst out of the turbulent zone, the electromagnetic coating was nearing its limit, completely collapsing. The residual electromagnetic pulse spread instantly, bringing all systems of the landing craft offline, plunging them into darkness. Lu Ling grinned in the dark, and Shi Weina immediately turned on the searchlight. Each landing craft had a mechanic, which gave Lu Ling a slight sense of balance. But that thought was quickly replaced by new grievances. Feng Ling could have brought Wangs on this mission. That guy was diligent, hardworking, and had a good attitude, much better than him. The left side main circuit had blown, and the backup energy node was damaged. Shi Weina's voice sounded in his ear. After half a year of following Lu Ling, she was practically an expert herself. Minutes later, the two reconnected the wiring, and the fusion reactor restarted, illuminating the cabin like a tide. However, the landing crafts of Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile were not so lucky. When everything was ready, the portholes were already surrounded by patrol boats from Blackwater Bay. Surprisingly, the patrol boat fleet did not show hostility. After completing the routine identity verification, a pilot boat signaled them to steer towards a narrow small dock. Brave warriors who have crossed the storm, welcome to Blackwater Bay. Chapter 47. Survival of the fittest. The landing craft came to a rough stop on the rusty walkway, creating sparks. The hatch popped open with a hiss, and Feng Ling jumped down first, followed closely by 6 loyal guards. Lu Ling and Shi Weina hurried after them. Next came the Bloodshark team and the Ghost Crocodile team, all clad in black armor without any insignias or flags. The entrance was still guarded by mechanical sentinels, and it was unclear where Feng Ling had obtained the visitor permits. The group smoothly entered the bay. As the gate opened, they were greeted by a chaotic cluster of buildings. From what they learned through Bloodshark, this was the most chaotic edge of the bay, a den for outlaws and refuse, known as the slaughterhouse. It was dirty, crowded, and populated by a mix of ethnicities. Ragged laborers, fierce-looking enforcers, and shifty-eyed pimps and informants scurried like rats through the disordered metal skeletons of ships piled high with containers and discarded parts. Lu Ling keenly spotted a neon sign in a foreign script in the distance. Welcome to Rust City. The psychedelic glow only highlighted the dilapidated and filthy slaughterhouse before them. The familiar feeling returned. A group of over 60 naturally attracted the attention of the crowd in the slaughterhouse. When countless pairs of greasy green eyes zeroed in on Feng Ling at the front, even though her nano armor covered most of her figure, her striking waist and long legs were unmistakable. Women, especially beautiful ones, were universally regarded as valuable trading resources, endless and inexhaustible. The commotion spread rapidly like a plague. Hey, look who it is. Damn, what a gem. Even if she has a frog head under that helmet, I'd recognize her. TSK, that waist and those legs. Even dressed so tightly can't hide them. Hiss, but she has quite a few people with her, and their gear is decent. Cut it out, just putting on a show. How could those big shots come in through the back of the bay? Ha ha ha. So what? In this bay, even a dragon has to bow down. The vulgar remarks, laced with greedy scrutiny and unabashed malice, put Lu Ling and Shi Weina on high alert. A few brash individuals began to slowly approach, like hyenas sensing blood, their eyes darting between Feng Ling, the loyal guards, Shi Weina, and the pirates behind them. Feng Ling didn't pause her steps for a moment. She didn't even glance at the hostile gazes thrown her way, walking straight towards the slaughterhouse and the entrance to Rust City. However, this absolute indifference was, in itself, a provocation. Hey, little beauty, we're talking to you. Don't act so high and mighty. A towering man, nearly 2 meters tall, with an ugly scar across his face, bulging muscles, and a bare chest adorned with menacing tattoos, suddenly blocked Feng Ling's path, grinning widely to reveal a mouthful of yellow teeth. How dare he provoke Feng Ling? Lu Ling felt a sense of schadenfreude and pulled Shi Weina to watch the unfolding drama. The man raised a greasy, powerful hand toward Feng Ling's waist, attempting to discern the authenticity of her nano belt. Hee, let me show you a good time in this bay. His words were abruptly cut off. The crisp and chilling sound of bones cracking echoed sharply as the giant's head twisted a full 180 degrees to face the direction welcoming them to the Rust City. His accomplices stared wide-eyed, their pupils trembling. No one could clearly see how Feng Ling had made her move. Lu Ling squinted, even with his F-level genes. He couldn't catch any trace of Feng Ling's action. There were only two possibilities. First, Feng Ling's genetic level was higher than his, and her speed exceeded the limits of his neural response. The second possibility reminded him of the advanced night techniques taught by Gira, flowing style. The method of verification was simple. Lu Ling looked at Zavina, who shook her head in tacit understanding. Lu Ling's heart sank immediately. Damn it, it wasn't flowing style? Could it be that Feng Ling's genetic rank surpassed Zavina's? After all, Zavina was an alpha of 2 rank, and her overall performance was even higher than that of E-level in the Imperial genetic system. According to Greenleaf, E-genes required vast amounts of rare resources for cultivation, and the related genetic enhancement potions were incredibly valuable. Even among the Red Devils, only a handful could afford them. He had always thought Feng Ling was E. Could she have reached D? No, he needed to find an opportunity to ask Zavina about it later. At the same time, a member of the Falling Goose Guard drew a pulse pistol and shattered the giant's head, blood spraying like an out-of-control high-pressure hose. Splattering several meters away under the dim light, the warm liquid splattering onto his accomplices' faces. The headless corpse fell straight to the ground. Feng Ling didn't even stop to glance at the chaos beneath her feet. The Falling Goose Guard swiftly annihilated the remaining group. The entire slaughterhouse fell into a deathly silence. The previous clamor, foul language, and greedy gazes vanished as if an invisible hand had seized their throats. After that, the kilometer-long slaughterhouse area was completely unimpeded. Only countless dodging and fearful gazes watched them walk towards the flickering neon entrance of the Rust City. Suddenly, Lu Ling stopped. Indeed, there was no one. Almost simultaneously, Zavina's steel blue eyes sharpened, her hand resting on the sword sheath as her body leaned slightly forward, positioning herself in front of Lu Ling. Thud, thud, thud. Heavy landing sounds echoed from the deep shadows of the towering containers on both sides of the corridor, resonating with a muffled echo that made the ground tremble slightly. Dozens of scarlet eyes opened in the shadows, filled with pure brutality and hunger. Hiss, hiss, hiss. The sound of teeth-gritting breaths emerged, heavy with a strong stench. A massive shadow slowly stepped out from the darkness, dripping foul saliva onto the ground, leaving behind colorful corrosive marks under the neon light. This was Lu Ling's first, no? Second, encounter with these genetic creations. The first was when he had just arrived at Blackwater Bay, encountering a noblewoman with a 3-headed snake thicker than a large barrel. However, the creature before him was no less impressive. Its size rivaled that of a small hover vehicle, muscles bulging and covered with a layer of black keratin resembling hardened asphalt. Its head was wolf-like, with protruding fangs, and its spine had jagged bone spikes jutting out, forming a grotesque appearance. What is most alarming are their forelimbs, with a biomechanical structure, and claws glinting with a sharp metallic sheen. Lu Ling thought of the hellhounds from mythology. TCH, this wolf pack is still just a bunch of dogs that can't change their nature. Someone in the group recognized them and scoffed. There was no communication, and the team didn't even pause. The battle erupted almost instantly. He quickly followed with Zawina, knowing that clinging tightly to Feng Ling's thigh was the safest option at that moment. Bloodshark took the lead, his signature heavy shotgun, known as the Skull Crusher, roaring deafeningly. Hot metallic pellets poured down like a torrential rain onto the nearest hellhound. Bang, bang, bang. The dense sounds of impact rang out. The rounds, capable of tearing through light armor, struck the black carapace, but only left behind white marks, oozing blue blood. Damn, they're using high-grade ammo right off the bat. Bloodshark cursed angrily, calmly switching to armor-piercing rounds as the oncoming monsters approached. Spread out. Crossfire. Target the joints. Aim for the eyes. Roar. The elite pirates behind him reacted swiftly, instantly dispersing into several combat teams, the sound of their electromagnetic rifles charging and firing forming a dense web of firepower, accurately targeting the relatively weak joint connections and the terrifying crimson compound eyes of the hellhounds. One hellhound's eye was hit by multiple energy beams, exploding into a disgusting mass, letting out a painful low growl. But it did not fall. Instead, the intense pain ignited an even more ferocious aggression. The massive metallic claw let out a shrill scream as it swept violently towards a group of pirates on the side. This group of pirates belonged to the Ghost Crocodile, skillfully activating nitrogen shields and deploying the impact-resistant armor plates at their waists. Buzz. Several faint blue, translucent nitrogen shields instantly rose in the path of the steel claw's assault. Boom. The icy claw struck fiercely against the nitrogen shield. The pale blue shield shattered like a soap bubble, but successfully absorbed most of the impact. Following that, the steel claw continued unabated, sweeping towards the heavy impact-resistant armor plate. Clang. The armor plate only dented slightly, and then holes opened up within it, shooting out several round projectiles that stuck to the hellhound. Dozens of adhering projectiles emitted a rapid high-frequency vibration, causing the hellhound to tremble uncontrollably, letting out a hissing wail. Blue blood flowing back and spraying from its mouth. Ultimately, it collapsed weakly. Its insides had been turned to mush. Ghost Crocodile watched all of this indifferently, showing no intention to intervene. All of this happened in just a few fleeting moments. Several of the attacking monsters had already been killed by Bloodshark and others, and the elite forces of the Crimson Devils remained unscathed. A silver flying vehicle glided into the air. The besieging hellhounds seemed to suddenly hit a pause button, their neck collars flashing red lights, their wild instincts struggling against control, claws scraping the ground with a piercing sound, but ultimately failing to escape. They growled lowly as they retreated into the deep shadows on either side of the passage. Fengling's brow slightly furrowed, a hint of irritation passing through her crimson visor. Wasting time. She anticipated that not using the name of the Red Devil would certainly bring obstacles, but she didn't expect that just a short distance from the slaughterhouse at the bottom of Blackwater Bay, they would encounter two waves of greetings in quick succession. The hatch at the bottom of the flying vehicle slid open silently, and a tall, slender figure appeared at the entrance, leaping down from a height of several meters to land in front of the crowd. What a show-off, Lu Ling thought to herself. The newcomer was dressed in a black high-collared suit, with a dark bow tie that contrasted sharply with the filthy and bloody environment below. His hair was a gradient silver, particularly striking under the lights, slicked back to perfection. He wore a pair of gold-rimmed monocles, with a smile that was more of a smirk, exuding elegance yet hypocrisy. He was the Silver Wolf of the Wolf Gang, the rotating spokesperson for the slaughterhouse of Blackwater Bay. Such was the reality at the bottom of Blackwater Bay. There was no order or military intervention. Just moments ago, Fengling had killed someone here, and as the spokesperson of the Wolf Gang, the Silver Wolf naturally couldn't let Lu Ling and her group leave easily. After all, they were still benefiting from the slaughterhouse, weren't they? Forgive my boldness, but may I ask where you esteemed guests are from? The Silver Wolf spoke, his gaze seemingly piercing through the mask of the nano-armor, locking firmly onto Fengling. Fengling ignored him. Someone of the Silver Wolf's lowly status was not worthy of conversing with the leader of the Red Warriors. Bloodshark stepped forward with a sinister grin, his massive frame looming like a tower in front of the Silver Wolf. He opened the mouth of his mask and disdainfully spat on the ground. A spokesperson of the Silver Wolf's caliber was merely a struggling ant leader at the bottom of Blackwater Bay. The Red Warriors could easily crush him with a flip of their hand. Are you going to roll over? Or should I find someone to take care of your whole family? The term Dog King was not something most would dare to say to someone's face. They referred to themselves as the Wolf Gang and were known for breeding genetic monsters. Thus, the Dog King was also called the Wolf King. However, this gang operated like dogs, bullying the weak and fearing the strong, thriving around the slaughterhouse and Howling City, and over time, the name Dog Gang spread. The Silver Wolf's smile froze instantly. The entire slaughterhouse fell into a deathly silence. The Silver Wolf's body tensed up as he tried to maintain a facade of calm. The lenses of his gold-rimmed glasses reflected a cold light, hiding the fury and a hint of apprehension boiling beneath. He stared intently at Bloodshark's mask, then glanced past him to the still silent dark red figure behind, as if everything was none of her business. The air was thick with suffocating silence. Heh. The Silver Wolf forced a stiff smile. Since you all are unwilling to reveal your origins, this slaughterhouse is after all the rotating territory of the Under Alliance. I hope you can abide by some rules while walking in Rust City. Heh, is the dog threatening us now? Bloodshark mocked, ready to take action. The Silver Wolf's expression changed, his tone turning unfriendly. Do you know who is behind my Under Alliance? Ha ha. Someone among the Red Warriors couldn't help but laugh out loud. Bloodshark raised his shotgun, grinning menacingly. Isn't it just that old hag Sarah? What? Silver Wolf's face turned pale, and he stopped talking. He slowly stepped back a few paces before suddenly turning around. In a hurried motion, the silver flying vehicle's hatch opened quickly, and he slipped inside. The engine of the silver vehicle let out a slightly urgent roar as it rapidly ascended, disappearing into the shadows of the complex metal structures above the slaughterhouse. TSK, good dog. Bloodshark shouldered the shotgun of the crushed skull and led the way ahead. Lu Ling glanced back at the dark corridor of the slaughterhouse, then looked towards the neon lights of Rust City, suddenly realizing something. Chapter 48. New Human Genes. He arrived at the true entrance of Blackwater Bay. The crowd in Rust City had noticeably thickened, and the air was filled with the pungent smell of cheap perfume, oil, and stimulants. At some point, Bloodshark and the ghost crocodile's people had suddenly disappeared into the crowd. Lu Ling only managed to catch a glimpse of their last fading figures. Had those mechanics also left? However, he did not hesitate at all. He tightened his grip on Zavina's hand and followed closely behind Feng Ling. In this chaotic area, after provoking the local gang, he felt safe only by staying close to Feng Ling. Eventually, they reached a secluded enclosed parking lot, which was exceptionally spacious. In the central area, a pitch-black luxury flying vehicle was parked, with the side door open and the driver waiting, seemingly for a long time. Sakura, you come with me. Feng Ling's cold voice rang out, and then she turned slightly, pausing when she saw Lu Ling. A light laugh came from behind her mask, carrying a hint of amusement and undeniable authority. And my dear chief mechanic, you come with me. The rest stay on standby. Lu Ling was taken aback. Me? But I'm just a tech guy. I can't fight. His mind buzzed, and he instinctively looked at Zavina, who was about to step forward but was subtly stopped by him. Disobeying Feng Ling's orders was not a trivial matter. This woman had a fickle temperament and was very skilled at manipulating people. Stay close to them, build good relationships, and keep in touch. Lu Ling managed to remind Zavina and handed her an Eve communication device before stealing himself and, under her worried gaze, followed Feng Ling and the guard named Sakura. His previously relaxed heart tightened again. Damn it, it's really hard to live a good life. The interior of the luxury flying vehicle was far more spacious and luxurious than Lu Ling had imagined. The air was filled with a crisp aroma of cedar and high-quality leather, a stark contrast to the filthy atmosphere of Rust City outside. The hatch closed silently, completely isolating them from the outside noise. Lu Ling watched the figures of Zavina and the others grow smaller, letting out a barely perceptible sigh. He was not in control of his own fate. Next to him was the guard named Sakura, who sat upright and was quite striking in appearance. Feng Ling occupied the main seat, relaxed yet exuding an invisible pressure. She reached up to remove her mask, her narrow eyes looking directly at Lu Ling. So, how are our red soldiers? Lu Ling could only remove his mask as well. Otherwise, that would be too impolite. Thomas is a good guy, he succinctly evaluated. Bloodshark's original name was indeed Thomas. Greenleaf and Lotus have a high opinion of you. Feng Ling's voice remains calm. You have indeed proven your abilities. As long as you follow me, I can fulfill your desires. A surge of indescribable complex emotions welled up in his heart. To be honest, in this treacherous sea of stars, the red soldiers have treated him rather well. However, this thought was quickly suppressed by Lu Ling, who took a deep breath. Suddenly feeling steady, he had sworn when he first arrived that he would stay in this starry sky and master his own fate. Feng Ling's promise was nothing but poison wrapped in honey. That woman, Greenleaf, despite her generous figure, hides sharp needles within, much like Feng Ling. And they probably share the same master. As for that icy woman, Lotus, she is merely a loyal servant of Feng Ling. Her words carry no authority. When she praises you, it's genuine, but when it comes to taking your life, it's just the same. You are hesitating. Feng Ling's elongated eyes narrowed, her orange-hued gaze fixed on him. Lu Ling calmly looked up, thinking that no one would want to live a life of uncertainty, right? The adaptability is indeed impressive. No wonder they are from Earth. A hint of pure admiration flashed in Feng Ling's eyes, quickly overshadowed by a deeper coldness. But at least I can ensure your safety for a lifetime and provide you with a larger stage. She pointed to the side, to Sakura, saying they could do anything for you, even die for you at any moment. Oh, I wonder if the leader has heard an ancient saying from Earth. Speak. Nobility and power. Do they have any inherent worth? Lu Ling spoke very seriously. These 8 characters carried the weight of a small individual questioning the shackles of fate and expressing boundless ambition for the stars and the sea. Sakura rarely looked over. The chief mechanic actually uttered such a juvenile statement. The carriage fell into silence. A short, light laugh escaped Feng Ling's lips as she leaned back into her soft seat. Her posture still relaxed, with her nano armor outlining the intricate silhouette of a great wheel. You are very honest, with quite an ambition. Greenleaf mentioned that you have changed a lot in the past 6 months. Feng Ling's eyes held scrutiny, amusement, and a hint of intense interest, as if discovering a hidden treasure. Lu Ling understood the implications of Feng Ling's words, but he remained firm. Living is not just about surviving, right? A slight lift of Feng Ling's brow and a smirk appeared at the corner of her mouth. So you used my money to modify your genes and that of the female slave? Lu Ling was startled. Although he had anticipated this, being so bluntly exposed by Feng Ling still sent a chill down his spine. After all, when he faced the second-in-command of the fortress, the Mamba with F-level genes, his explosive power, which could rival it, could not be hidden in front of everyone. He didn't panic and deny it, nor did he futilely argue. Instead, he took a deep breath and chose to respond directly. No, I only restored the dormant gene lock. Gene lock. Indeed, this unheard-of concept successfully captured Feng Ling's attention. What is the difference from the Imperial genes? But what about your little female slave? Does she also have a dormant gene lock? If I remember correctly, she seems to be from the Empire. Feng Ling quickly caught on, her eyes revealing no joy or anger. Only the cherry blossom nearby suddenly sat up straight, and the gaze beneath the mask gradually turned cold. The leader despises deceit the most. Lien and Wang's know this very well. Lu Ling decisively deflected the blame, avoiding a direct answer and turning to a theoretical level. The core of the Empire's genetic system lies in embryos and optimization. If the new human standards cannot be met during the embryonic stage, it will be extremely difficult to transform into the so-called new human later on. When he first arrived at the Red Army, Wang's frequently referred to him as inferior, with an air of superiority, showing no mercy. This was because, in the Empire's genetic system, the genes of inferior individuals destined them to have a growth limit, leading to the subdivision of various gene levels. N represents inferior individuals, who are beyond saving and can only live on a planet for their entire lives, unable to adapt to space survival. At that time, when Greenleaf tested Lu Ling, all 5 indicators were at the lowest N level. In the Empire's system, that marked him as the lowest of the low, the waste of waste. This was extremely rare. While individuals marked as N could still have a slight chance of transforming into new humans through later genetic optimization, their growth also had a limit. In the Red Devil, such genetic slaves were categorized for trade. Only those who achieve all F ratings can be called new humans. The Empire's genetics believe that human genes can only be catalyzed by later medications and can at most be improved by 1 level. This means that someone originally classified as N can only be raised to N at most, while someone originally at N can be raised to F at most. Exceeding the load limit will result in genetic collapse. Lu Ling paused and raised his tone. The Earth Federation is different. We believe that human genes do not have distinctions of superiority or inferiority. On the contrary, everyone's potential is limitless. The so-called inferior individuals are merely those whose potential has yet to be awakened. Therefore, we refer to these dormant genes as gene locks. This statement was a direct challenge to the foundation of the Empire's genetics. Lu Ling didn't care. He had a system backing him up, maximizing the alpha gene and easily surpassing the Empire's S gene rating. Watching as Feng Ling's furrowed brow smoothed out, he knew he had succeeded. Feng Ling appeared contemplative, but evidently did not fully believe it, saying slowly, "Interesting theory, but aren't you a teacher for the Thunder-class battleship of the Federation? How come you also delve into biological genetics?" Upon hearing Thunder, Lu Ling's gaze unconsciously dropped a bit. Wow, that's impressive. Each field has its own expertise, but the principles of science converge. I merely guided Savannah's potential awakening. Feng Ling initially wanted to further understand the limits of the gene lock theory, but suddenly the hum of the flying car's engine decreased sharply, smoothly hovering in midair. Outside the window, the iconic skyscraper's rooftop platform in the Gear Industrial Zone was now in sight. Chapter 49. Negotiation. The Greywater Building is the tallest structure in the Gear Industrial Zone and also the infamous office base of the Black Sail Pirate in Blackwater Bay. The entire building is. The luxurious flying car glided into the exclusive landing pad on the top floor and landed steadily. The cabin door opened, and the unique smell of machine oil from the Gear Industrial Zone instantly diluted the lingering cedar leather scent inside the car. Feng Ling was the first to step out of the cabin, her dark red nano armor shimmering under the stark white spotlight on the rooftop. Sakura followed closely behind. Like the most loyal shadow, Lu Ling took a deep breath, suppressing the unease in her heart about the unfamiliar environment, and jumped down. A man in a sharply tailored dark gray uniform was already standing quietly in wait. He was tall and thin, with a pallid complexion that seemed almost devoid of color. The intermediary of the Black Sail, Morris. The so-called intermediary serves as a diplomatic bridge between pirate factions. After all, in the autonomous region of Zhuangbai, there are only 5 infamous groups, and friction among them is quite normal. Therefore, when situations escalate and become uncontrollable, the role of the intermediary comes into play, mainly to balance the interests of all parties. The greatest enemy of pirates is the Navy. Lord Feng Ling. Morris's voice was deep, and the surprise in his eyes was hard to conceal. I didn't expect you to truly honor your word. Please lead the way. Feng Ling's voice was as cold as ice, with no hint of politeness. Morris nodded slightly, and turned to lead the way. Upon entering the top floor of the building, a wide, towering metallic corridor extended ahead, flanked by massive floor-to-ceiling windows. Outside was the dizzying steel jungle of the Gear Industrial Zone, from which one could glimpse the distant neon harbor, resembling a river of neon lights, winding and straight, disappearing into the horizon. At the end of the corridor stood a gigantic alloy door, intricately carved with the emblem of a black sail. The black sail's reception room only welcomed the most distinguished guests. What came into view was not the luxury one might imagine, but an extreme, chilling emptiness. In the center of the room stood a massive oval table made from a single piece of black obsidian, the surface so polished that it could reflect silhouettes. On either side of the long table were only a few high-backed chairs, cast from the same black alloy, with cold, hard lines. "Please take a seat, Lord Fengling." Morris's voice remained low. Fengling walked straight to one side of the long table, pulled out a chair, and sat down, while Sakura silently stood behind her. Lu Ling looked around and saw only 3 chairs, so she stood beside Sakura. Almost as soon as Fengling sat down, the reception room's door opened once more. A fragrant breeze swept in as a graceful figure entered, swaying elegantly. The newcomer was a woman dressed in a low-key, burgundy evening gown that perfectly showcased her figure, as if she had just attended a banquet. Her long chestnut hair flowed like waves, with a few strands dyed silver, adding an air of mystery and allure. Her features were extremely enchanting, with a pair of emerald green eyes that seemed to captivate souls with their shimmering depths. Lu Ling was already accustomed to the fact that in a future world where genetic technology was highly advanced, exceptionally beautiful women were not rare. "Apologies for keeping you all waiting." Rosania's voice was gentle, exuding an intellectual beauty reminiscent of a neighborly older sister. As she gracefully pulled out the chair opposite Fengling and sat down, her long legs crossed elegantly and relaxed. "Lord Fengling," Rosania spoke first, "I have long admired your name. I never expected to meet you in this manner on the territory of the Black Sail. I wonder which blood alliance has provoked the Crimson Devil. I apologize on their behalf." Morris raised his pale face and explained, "Ms. Rosanella, Lord Fengling has already withdrawn the Red Soldiers from the Red Devil." Lu Ling, who was eavesdropping, showed a subtle change in expression and looked at Fengling's back with some surprise. They really withdrew from the Red Devil? He had always thought that the Red Soldiers were a part of the Red Devil, and that Fengling needed the Red Devil. The universe is vast yet small. The situation in the Zhuangbai Autonomous Region is complex, and leaving the Red Devil could easily attract retaliation from enemies. However, if the sky were to fall, there would naturally be someone tall to support it. What he needed to do now was to develop cautiously, preserve his life, gather intelligence and channels for star currency, and wait for the right moment to act. "Oh." Rosanella's green eyes flashed with surprise as she looked at Lu Ling and Sakura. No wonder she brought bodyguards. Rachel must be furious by now. Fengling's expression was emotionless, and her voice was cold. "I summoned you both for one purpose, to eliminate Rachel." Rosanella squinted her eyes and put away her smile. Morris, clearly having discussed this with Fengling beforehand, showed no surprise and began to facilitate the negotiation. "Lord Fengling, may I ask what price you are willing to pay? And what leverage do you have? If it's just about bringing the Red Soldiers to join the Black Sail, that might be unrealistic." Rosanella nodded in agreement, her delicate hand absent-mindedly tracing the obsidian table as she casually remarked, "Rachel has entrenched herself in Zhuangbai for many years. Deeply rooted. Even if we join forces with our Blood Alliance and the Black Sail, we probably won't be able to kill him." She felt that this negotiation had already lost its significance, originally thinking that the Blood Alliance had attracted the Red Soldiers for mediation. Well, however, based on my understanding of Fengling, this person is quite scheming. She might obtain some unexpected information. Fengling chose not to answer directly. "Do you know the Silverlight family?" Rosanella and Morris exchanged glances, both puzzled but wisely refrained from interrupting. The Silverlight family, hereditary earls of the Empire, is one of the autonomous regions in the 63rd Star District of the Partia Empire, on par with colossal families like Zhuangbai, and even more powerful in terms of strength and connections, ruling over the prosperous Silverlight territory. This family is distinguished by its unique wealth of the Star Tears mine and top-notch biomedical technology. Star Tears not only serve as a precious energy carrier, but are also core materials for advanced genetic agents and biological computers. 10 years ago, news suddenly emerged that the Silverlight family was plotting rebellion. Shortly after, the governor of Kashi confirmed the charges of treason and requested the emperor to strip their titles, with all assets liquidated and deposited into the national treasury. Core members of the Silverlight family, along with vassals and supporters, were swiftly arrested or executed. At that time, the incident shocked the entire Kashi constellation. To this day, the Imperial Upper House has yet to formally appoint a new Lord of Silverlight, and the defense of this stellar system is temporarily managed by the Imperial Navy, while governance falls under the jurisdiction of the Imperial Noble Lower House. Half a year ago, Rachel sent Scott and me to secretly execute an ambush mission on a route called YGS-0876. Fengling's cold voice echoed clearly in the icy, spacious reception room. Morris was immediately taken aback, realizing it was you too. In fact, we in the Black Sail had long suspected this. The YGS-0876 route terror attack refers to a severe spaceship hijacking incident that occurred 6 months ago in a certain autonomous territory. After pirates seized the vessel, they carried out inhumane killings of thousands on board, but were caught red-handed by the local naval patrol fleet. The fleet destroyed one ship, captured another, and severely damaged a pirate warship that attempted to flee. This incident remained highly confidential due to the strong intervention of a powerful family that blocked all information channels. During that time, the routes were patrolled almost around the clock, making it impossible for the pirates to venture out for food. However, they had a keen sense and detected some clues. The family was searching for something. Indeed, a certain individual directly admitted that her ship was the one captured by the Navy. As you guessed, it was someone from that family who arranged for her release. A shocked expression appeared on Morris's pale face, and Rosaniella's eyes flickered. Could it be that this person had such capabilities and had gotten involved with those nobles? Morris voiced his thoughts, but then became puzzled. No, ordinary nobles from that family wouldn't have such power. Could it be the direct descendants? This family had ruled the starry skies for over 2,000 years, effectively being the local emperors of the entire star system. Morris's face grew even paler. If what you say is true, then that person has become a pawn of the family, and even if we unite the Black Sails, Blood Alliance, and the villain gang, we couldn't harm them in the slightest. A flicker of realization passed through Rosaniella's green eyes as she thought to herself how it all made sense. No wonder the Red Devil had been acting increasingly recklessly lately. If it weren't for this recent change in the Red Devil's behavior, she might have declined this meeting for other reasons. Please, my sister is very busy. However, it seems that this trip was indeed worthwhile. Unfortunately, Rosaniella looked at the individual, lamenting that such a talented person had attracted an insurmountable enemy. They clearly understood her abilities and value. Pirates mainly considered risk-reward ratios, and she, along with her crew, rarely returned empty-handed after missions. In their talent pool ratings, she was among the highest tier. Why not join the Blood Alliance? Although that person has the backing of the nobles, we are not to be underestimated, Morris suggested, somewhat astonished. Aren't you supposed to be the intermediary? Is it really wise to poach so boldly without considering my feelings? Yet, he wisely refrained from speaking further, realizing that she likely wanted to ally with them to eliminate that person. Conversely, that individual probably wanted to eliminate her as well. Such core secrets, if leaked, could lead to death. Now, trying to win her over undoubtedly put him at odds with the Red Devil, and any misstep could be disastrous. He did not have the authority to speak for the Black Sails. Suddenly, Morris recalled the family that had been mentioned earlier. Wait, could it be that the ship you attacked was? She glanced at the two and softened her tone. Yes. That ship was indeed a fleeing vessel belonging to the family. The originally vast and cold reception room was now filled with a chilling aura. You actually killed an imperial noble? Morris's teeth were chattering. Offending the hereditary nobility of the empire was a capital crime punishable by the execution of 25 families. And no force could withstand the wrath of the imperial nobility's lower house. That was a torrent of steel that could block out the sun. Rosanella's pupils constricted sharply. So what? They're just a pack of stray dogs. Fengling was completely indifferent, showing no psychological burden. How could you not be tempted by the thousands of years of wealth of the Silverlight family? Morris suddenly stood up. Are you saying the Zhuangbai family is looking for this? Rosanella's green eyes were fixed on her, not swayed by Fengling's words, but instead questioning. Lord Fengling, you can't be suggesting that the inheritance of the Silverlight family is in Rachel's hands, can you? If I'm not mistaken, the YGS-0876 incident must have been instigated by her master. After all, even if the Silverlight family were to rebel, they are still hereditary nobles from the great pioneering era. Those pioneers are not easily swayed, and this arc ship might very well be the result of various political maneuvers, with many eyes on it. If the Zhuangbai family intervenes, they will surely bear the risk of retaliation from the pioneers. I don't think Zhuangbai would take that risk. Of course, the lords are high above, and my personal opinion doesn't matter. However, even if they do intervene, no matter how down and out the Silverlight family is, a dead camel is still bigger than a horse. For such a crucial matter, how could Zhuangbai feel secure handing it over to Rachel? Chapter 50. Treasure. The noble system of the Partia Empire is strict, adhering to the most basic and ancient peerage system, Baron, Viscount, Earl, Marquis, Duke. Therefore, inevitably, there are also social circles among the noble class. The pioneers mentioned by Rosanella are one of the oldest, most prestigious, and exclusive top-tier groups. A direct product and spiritual continuation of the early pioneering era of the Partia Empire, with a history of over 500 years. Nearly 10,000 years ago, The first generation of Parthians was exiled by the Star Alliance to the wild star regions beyond the rivers. In the darkness, they established the Parthia Empire, and then, like butterflies breaking out of their cocoons, they took the first step into the vast star sea. Thus, the epic era of imperial expansion began. It was a time filled with the unknown, danger, and opportunity. The empire needed the bravest, most resilient, and most visionary pioneers to explore unknown star regions, establish outposts, conquer the wild star sea, and lay the foundation for the expansion of the empire's territory. The pioneer group was spontaneously formed by these initial pioneers and their families who had made immortal contributions. They shared exploration maps, survival experiences, and intelligence on alien threats, supporting each other in extreme environments, forming a close alliance based on shared experiences and noble honor. The Silverlight family was born from the ancient nobility of that era. Once, the Silverlight family was a prestigious marquis controlling several wealthy star systems in the Empire's core area, but they showed no respect for imperial authority and secretly developed AI technology, only to be demoted to earls and exiled to the nearly frontier territory of the Empire's 63rd Star District. Compared to this, the Zhuanbei family has only a history of over 2,000 years, a latecomer during the Empire's stable expansion period. They relied on political influence and wealth to gain autonomy over a relatively barren star system, rising as new money within the imperial nobility. In the vast, cold reception room of the Black Sail, Rosanella lazily propped her cheek on her hand, her slender fingers carelessly drawing circles on the obsidian tabletop. Thus, Rachel did not possess the treasure of the Silverlight family at all. Even if she did, the Zhuanbei family would certainly take it back at the first opportunity. Lord Fengling, if you really want to eliminate Rachel, you must first topple the formidable Zhuanbei family. After saying this, she couldn't help but laugh. How ironic. Could it be that the people present had connections with the pioneering nobility? Fengling quietly listened to her without refuting, merely nodding slightly. Indeed, under normal circumstances, the Zhuanbei family must be dealt with first. She suddenly changed her tone. However, it seems you have forgotten what I mentioned earlier. The YGS-0876 terrorist incident. Scott ran away. What? Rosanella and Morris exchanged glances. Scott ran away? Rosanella's voice was filled with doubt. Wasn't he executed by Rachel for treason? Yes, the timeline matches. Could it be that he was silenced because he took the treasure of the Silverlight family? What do you think? Fengling smiled, her fingers suddenly flicking out a black crystal card. It was an anonymous black diamond card from the Karasi Empire Bank, with a single storage limit of 200 million star coins, and each black card corresponded to an undecodable key. 200 million star coins. Rosanella's enchanting eyes widened instantly, her breath momentarily catching. Morris shot up from his seat, his hands gripping the edge of the table, leaning forward, his pale face flushing abnormally, breathing heavily. Lu Ling appeared thoughtful. Seeing that the atmosphere was ripe, Fengling dropped an even heavier piece of news. The Silverlight family has a total of 26 black diamond cards. What? 26 cards? The exclamations erupted almost simultaneously. Lu Ling was also taken aback. Good heavens, that amounts to 2 billion. Enough to buy a T2 destroyer or multiple T1 battleships in the Eve market. But soon, he thought of the key point. Previously, Fengling had given him 20 million for the renovation of the Night Orchid, and back then, he had doubted the source of her star coins. The 20 million star coins were just based on the prices reported by the Eve system, whether it was the photon coprocessor or the small hyperspace adjustment device. Prices in the Eve market were not low, costing him about 3 million ISK. With her hands in the mix and risking her life, she must be making some profit, right? He never expected that Fengling had actually prepared so many star coins. Realizing this, he quickly suppressed the impulse rising within him. Looking at the two intermediaries across from him with a hint of pity, he thought, you may be clever, being able intermediaries, but foolish to trust Fengling's words. From what he knew of this woman, not a single punctuation mark could be trusted, let alone the promises she made. Lu Ling lowered his eyelids, silently watching their performance at the negotiation table. When the astonishing news broke, Rosanella could no longer maintain her composure, her emerald eyes filled with pure shock. Maurice stared intensely at the black card in Fengling's hand, his greed unabashedly evident, his will completely shattered. Money, the most wonderful temptation in this world, can satisfy all the desires of ordinary people in this era. 52 billion star coins. Enough to drive any force to madness. Scott and I each took one. Fengling calmly recounted that the remaining 24 cards were in Rachel's hands, and if I hadn't run fast, I might have lost mine to him as well. She leaned slightly forward, her fingers flipping the black crystal card, shimmering with an enchanting luster. The obsidian table was smooth, reflecting everyone's faces. Now, let us consider this. If you were Rachel, would you obediently hand over everything to the Zhuanbai family? This was 52 billion. Rosanella quickly came to her senses. her greed ebbing away like a receding tide, gradually calming down and beginning to ponder. This meant that Rachel was currently being suspected by his master. Moreover, Fengling continued to raise the stakes. Before coming to Blackwater Bay, I contacted the Triumph fleet anonymously. The Red Demon forces sent by Rachel to hunt me down are likely caught by the Navy right now. The Blade has already dealt with 2 leaders. All he has left are his loyal troops in Fortress, making this the weakest moment for the Red Demons. In the reception room, a chill spread. Rosanella looked at Fengling. Starting to calmly assess this woman's skill in using others as a weapon, Fengling spoke lightly, but if it weren't for her absolute grasp of the timing and conditions, any misstep could lead to irreparable consequences. Those Navy personnel were not foolish. On the contrary, no one in Zhuangbai was more astute than them. A mere anonymous communication certainly wouldn't compel them to go to great lengths to capture the Red Demon forces. There had to be overlooked details. The anonymous information Fengling provided was not only precise and deadly, but also came with some reason that the Zhuangbai family could not ignore, necessitating immediate action. Could it be? Rosanella took a deep breath, glancing at Maurice and lightly coughing. Lady Fengling, the information you provided is astonishing and extremely important. However, given its significance, our blood alliance needs 3 days to verify its authenticity. Morris's gaze flickered, his face flushed before revealing a pale complexion as he slowly returned to his seat. Our black sail feels the same. The two spoke without leaving any loopholes. Fengling flipped the crystal card and pressed it onto the obsidian table, then slowly pushed it between the two. There's no need for such trouble, she said coldly. Black sail, blood alliance. Each take 20 million star coins as a deposit. And do your utmost to help me eliminate Rachel. Once successful, these 200 million will be yours. If we can obtain the remaining treasures of the Silverlight family, we will split them among the 3 of us. Rosanella was surprised, but her reason was not overwhelmed by desire. Her eyes flickered slightly. However, not everyone could maintain their principles like she did. At least Morris felt inadequate, his voice low yet urgent, carrying a hint of seriousness. If Lord Fengling can pay the deposit at any time, I am willing to do my utmost to persuade the gentleman to reach this cooperation. As a seasoned intermediary who had long been involved in the Blackwater Bay, Morris, with his connections and experience, shouldn't he have made such a reckless statement. However, he had another identity as the favored son-in-law of Sir Blacksails. Given their relationship, he must have been confident. Rosanella rubbed her forehead, suddenly realizing that Fengling's scheme was indeed quite clever. When that black diamond card was presented, all avenues for both parties were effectively sealed off. Morris, that fool, dazzled by the immense star currency, seemingly forgot the neutrality an intermediary should maintain, resulting in a loss of initiative in the final stages. Now, it was too late to say anything. Little did she know that Morris had just been silently cursing her, though quite gentlemanly, without resorting to insults. Rosanella looked at Fengling, seeing that lazy, slanted gaze from those orange-hued eyes, and a trace of self-mockery surfaced deep within her green pupils. I think the brothers of the Blood Alliance won't be able to refuse. Indeed, who could refuse? Pirates already lived on the edge of danger. The enormous inheritance of the Silverlight family might require risking lives to contest with the Zhuangbi family, but the 20 million deposit before them represented real, tangible benefits. Even if the operation ultimately failed, this sum was enough to elevate the overall strength of the Blood Alliance to a new level. It could even be considered a particularly low-risk, high-reward endeavor. As for Fengling asking if the 200 million on this card was important, the Zhuangbi Dominion was just that big. Chapter 51. Lady Sarah. The starry sky was desolate, the universe dim. In the cold void 120 kilometers from the space station, 3 starships lay in wait. Their hulls illuminated by lines of white lights corresponding to layers of decks, appearing sparse in the absolute darkness. Shadows flickered within the portholes, moving restlessly. On board the Steel-Tooth-class destroyer, in the lower officers' rest area of the bridge, the originally Sirius Secondary Command Center had been transformed by Mamba Snake into his private palace. The heavy alloy hatch was tightly closed, isolating the hum of the ship's engines. The air was thick with a mix of tobacco, strong liquor, sweat, and a certain sweet perfume, creating an overwhelming atmosphere. Psychedelic-colored spotlights rotated on the low ceiling, casting light spots on the alloy table, cluttered with empty bottles and food remnants, occasionally reflecting the white flesh of a lump in the corner. Mamba Snake, the second-in-command of the fortress, was now lying bare on a soft, wide bed, his muscular chest stained with alcohol and lipstick marks. He held a new slave, dressed only in thin gauze. In his left arm, while his right hand raised a glass filled with a red liquid, his eyes hazy with intoxication. Ha! So good. Mamba Snake laughed heartily, downing the strong liquor in one gulp, the spicy liquid burning his throat, bringing a numb pleasure. His rough hand roamed over the smooth skin of the slave in his arms, eliciting a burst of delicate laughter. Beep. A faint yet exceptionally clear electronic notification sound suddenly rang out. Mamba Snake, his eyes clouded with intoxication, showed a hint of confusion as his movements paused slightly. Beep, 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 beep. The voice coming from the communicator became more urgent and sharp, instantly tearing through the deafening music and decadent atmosphere. A glimmer of clarity flashed in Mamba Snake's eyes. Get off. He kicked the female slave away, reaching under the pillow to fumble for something. Soon, he pulled out a holographic communication wristband. When he saw the visitor's name, the intoxication and haze on his face vanished in an instant, replaced by a deep, indescribable fear. Damn, I forgot the important matter. Mamba Snake cursed under his breath, hurriedly grabbing his scattered shirt from the floor and putting it on in a rush. Not even having time to wear pants, he dashed out of the private palace filled with a foul atmosphere, running towards the bridge. Moments later, he heavily slumped into the cold metal seat of the captain's chair, his chest heaving violently, and fine cold sweat instantly covered his forehead and bare back. The mature female officer, already waiting nearby, skillfully injected a syringe filled with a clear liquid into the vein in his neck. The cold liquid surged into his bloodstream. Mamba Snake suddenly jolted. The intoxication on his face faded at a visible speed, and his murky gaze was forcibly sharpened, flickering with a glint caused by the drug's stimulation. Projected onto the main screen, quickly, Mamba Snake ordered in a deep voice. The officer adjusted the angle, passing over his bare lower body, accurately projecting his upper body in formal attire. A ghostly blue holographic beam appeared on the main screen of the bridge, revealing the figure of a woman in a long, deep purple dress, the hem cascading down. The woman seemed to be explaining something, her dark gray, slightly wavy long hair meticulously pinned up, revealing half of her face, which was as cold and sharp as an ancient iceberg. Lady Sarah, Rachel's legitimate wife, the actual controller of the consortium, the second in command of the Red Devil. When the communication was connected, the woman slowly turned her face towards him. Her lips painted with dark red lipstick, the corners of her thin mouth slightly downturned, exuding an indifference as if looking down on ants. Mamba Snake, you certainly kept me waiting. Just finished mating, I presume? The lady jested. You're joking, madam. The effects of the tranquilizer were still in play. Mamba Snake spoke with a low tone, his face serious, showing no signs of abnormality. Lady Sarah remained silent, her eyes narrowing slightly, her cold pupils scrutinizing him. An invisible pressure spread across the bridge. Mamba Snake's expression remained unchanged. After several seconds of silence between them, Lady Sarah finally spoke. Where's Feng Ling? Mamba Snake replied seriously. I've been watching here for 4 hours and have not seen her enter the Blackwater Bay. Oh, a blatant killing intent surfaced in Lady Sarah's cold pupils. Mamba Snake's heart skipped a beat. A split screen popped up, showing footage of Feng Ling and others crossing the slaughterhouse. They moved swiftly through the chaotic crowd, with a clear objective. Mamba Snake forced himself to remain calm. I guarantee with my life that I have not found the whereabouts of the Night Orchid. Good. It seemed that Lady Sarah was waiting for this statement. A slight curve appeared at the corner of her mouth. I will only give you 30 minutes. If you do not find the Night Orchid, you'll have to find someone to collect the bodies yourself. The ghostly blue holographic image vanished like a candle flame snuffed out in an instant. The snake leisurely pulled out a cherished Corlacei cigar from the captain's storage box, a gift from last year's Rachel Award, extremely precious and usually not enjoyed lightly. After lighting it, he reclined in his seat, squinting his eyes in enjoyment. He exhaled clouds of smoke until it burned out, flicking the butt away, which traced a faint arc in the air before hitting the cold alloy wall, sparking a few embers that quickly extinguished. The snake opened his eyes. The calming glow from the residual drugs faded, replaced by a sharpened edge and the wildness unique to pirates. Have someone verify the authenticity of the footage. His voice was deep and steady. The first mate immediately took action, turning to the communication station to quickly contact their informant. The snake's gaze turned to the main viewport. The universe vast and infinite, with the swirling debris ring of Blackwater Bay resembling a giant millstone, swallowing light. Signal, the fleet is to break silence. Set the radar power to 50%. If there are no results, crank it to the max. The radar officer immediately executed the order, and a faint humming sound filled the bridge. Increasing the radar power meant that the detection range would expand geometrically, like illuminating a powerful searchlight in the dark. Originally, they could only cover a 200-kilometer radius near the entrance of Blackwater Bay while in silent mode, but now it would instantly expand to thousands, even tens of thousands of kilometers into deep space. Conversely, they would also emit light like a lighthouse in the cosmic waves of other ships, attracting all potential onlookers. Report. Radar power has been raised to 50%. No target signal characteristics detected within the current scanning range. Continuing to increase power, expected to reach maximum in 10 seconds. Almost simultaneously, his mature first mate finished her communication and turned to report. Sir, the intel is accurate. Fengling has indeed entered Blackwater Bay. And the Wolf Gang of the Alliance below just ran into them. Why didn't the Wolf Gang notify us? They said they entered anonymously, and their identities are untraceable. Useless. Who was on duty? Silver Wolf. Make him disappear. Yes. The snake rubbed his temples in frustration, yet that unease within him remained. He reached into the storage box again, pulling out a second Corlesi cigar. Huh. The radar officer's voice suddenly rose, filled with disbelief and excitement. Target signal detected. Match accuracy 96. Distance from our ship 11. 460 kilometers. What? The snake paused momentarily in his action of lighting the cigar, then took a deep puff and laughed heartily. Good, good, good. Damn. They were hiding so far away. The gloom on his face vanished. All fleet, listen up. Divert all energy to the engines. Maximum speed, go. The three dormant starships awakened from their silence, their thrusters igniting, and brilliant blue flames erupted from the exhausts. The metallic sounds of the ship's load echoed within. Meanwhile, 460 kilometers away from the Steel Fong fleet, the bridge of the Night Orchid also detected an anomaly, and the piercing alarm shattered the comm. Report. High-intensity directional cosmic wave scanning detected. Our ship's coordinates may have been exposed. Lien sat in the captain's chair, her brow slightly furrowed. Immediately initiating a counter-tracking of the target and analyzing the signal source database. Choosing to counter-track before the enemy fully revealed themselves meant that the coordinates of the Night Orchid would also be exposed to the public domain. But Lien had to do this. She needed to ascertain the number and identity of the enemies. Yes. A few seconds later, the results came back. The signal source database comparison identified the features as green, confirming friendly vessels Steel Tooth, Steel Hammer, and Steel Blade. The term friendly echoed in the cold command bridge, yet it did not bring a shred of comfort. An eerie feeling spread. It seemed Lien had anticipated this and decisively ordered, execute the highest authority command, marking all Red Devil identification signals as Red Hostile except for the Red Soldier headquarters. Huh. The atmosphere on the bridge momentarily froze, but the survival rules of pirates were already ingrained in their bones. Questioning? That was a privilege reserved for those of equal status. Yes. Authority approved, order confirmed. The operator's fingers fell again, and the cold command was executed instantly, as the three green beacons of the Red Devil vessels were suddenly covered in crimson. Almost at the same moment, the markings changed. In the previously empty and cold void to the side of the Night Orchid, the space rippled silently like water waves, and a bright white warp flash suddenly flickered. Immediately after, a friendly signal flashing a steady green appeared on the radar. The main screen of the Night Orchid's bridge lit up simultaneously, displaying a figure clad in standard Red Soldier armor, a stern-faced young woman at the center of the screen. Steel Tooth, requesting to return to formation. Mulan's voice was steady. A rare warmth surfaced on Lien's ice-cold face. Permission granted to return to formation. The entire fleet immediately moved into position to form a defensive line, with the side fire units facing coordinates B74, Y493. Execute final checks. Enter Level 1 combat readiness. As the order was issued, the engines of the Night Orchid and the recently arrived Steel Tooth adjusted slightly, slowly moving into their designated positions. Chapter 52. City in the Sky, Blackwater Bay. City in the Sky. This was Lu Ling's first visit to the City in the Sky, a metropolis suspended above the neon harbor. Looking down through the large curved windows of the luxurious flying car, the neon harbor resembled a flowing ocean of neon, tainted with the industrial dust and waste from the Gear Industrial Zone, creating a sickly splendor. A faint vibration was felt as the flying car penetrated the simulated cloud layer. Light pouring in. Before him, a breathtakingly large city, entirely constructed from high-strength alloys and transparent composite materials, hung suspended above the sea of clouds like a creation of the gods. Artificial sunlight devices emitted warm beams, unobstructed as they streamed down, flowing over the surfaces of countless geometrically cut skyscrapers, refracting a scorching brilliance. Slim anti-gravity arrays hung from the dome, suspending the entire city in the sky like a pendulum. Here lay the true heart of power in Blackwater Bay, the city in the sky. The flying car glided along the preset aerial route, weaving like a fish through the jungle of steel, capturing his gaze. Below is a meticulously planned, lush aerial garden and floating platform, with a clear artificial stream gently flowing through carefully designed channels. Rare alien plants thrive in the simulated ecosystem, contrasting sharply with the towering skyscrapers hanging upside down in the distance. As they pass through the security entrance, the speed of the hovering vehicle suddenly slows, silently merging into the flow of traffic. Lu Ling can't help but open the window, and fresh air rushes in, filled with a faint floral fragrance that has been finely filtered. This is truly a realm of wealth and power, the glamorous upper city of Blackwater Bay. Compared to the rugged and desolate collection stations or the vibrant nightlife of the neon port below, This is a comfortable and pleasant paradise on Earth. Their destination is Zone A3, a top-tier area known as the Dome Oasis. Sakura sits beside him, and the layout of the vehicle allows for seating facing each other. On the left are Feng Ling and Rosanilla, engaged in quiet conversation. On the right, Morris is communicating with someone through an encrypted channel, his demeanor respectful, indicating that the other party is a high-ranking figure from a significant organization. The luxurious vehicle finally parks on the top-level platform of a uniquely designed building that blossoms like a giant crystal orchid. The edge of the platform is a transparent energy barrier, with the endless sea of rolling clouds outside, creating a dizzying spectacle. Although aware that this magnificent view is a masterpiece of artificial technology and light, Lu Ling still feels a sense of awe, as he is, after all, a true ancient in both body and soul. Zone A3, Dome Oasis number 24, Morning Dew Ranch. This is not a ranch in the literal sense, but a highly secret and luxurious stronghold of a prominent organization in the Sky City. Its public identity is that of a top-tier luxury restaurant specializing in direct supply from organic farms. Feng Ling will pay a deposit here, and Morris has already contacted a powerful intermediary. The hatch silently slides open, and Lu Ling follows Feng Ling and Sakura onto the platform. Beneath their feet is a warm, naturally patterned alien stone material, subtly contrasting with the cold steel city. At the entrance, two guards in black suits, with a restrained demeanor, slightly bow and open the heavy alloy door inlaid with dark metallic stripes. Upon entering, instead of the clamor of a restaurant, they are greeted by the natural aromas of moist earth, fresh grass, and fruit, giving him a fleeting feeling as if he has returned to Earth. Lu Ling feels a bit dazed. He has been in space for far too long. What greets his eyes is an extremely spacious dome hall, soaring several meters high, reminiscent of a Roman amphitheater layout. The true core dining area is encircled around a small artificial ecosystem in the center of the hall. Looking down, on the lush green lawn, several glossy-furred, docile alien herbivores leisurely stroll and graze on tender grass, resembling a blend of deer and sheep from Earth, but appearing more elegant. A clear stream winds its way through, nourishing the berry bushes and vibrant alien flowers along the banks. Further away is a cultivation area, where fresh vegetables and fruits are growing. The air circulation system mimics the gentle natural breeze, carrying the fragrance of grass and soil. The maid, dressed in distinctive attire, seamlessly led the way ahead. Surrounding the ranch was a well-arranged dining area, with tables and chairs made from natural wood and stone, featuring smooth lines and a rustic charm. This was Morning Dew Ranch. Who would have thought that beneath this pastoral facade lay a lair of pirates? Quite impressive. Lu Ling's eyes never stopped wandering. As they moved through the dining area towards a more concealed, alloy door that blended into the rocky wall, the door slid open silently, revealing a tranquil corridor carpeted with thick fabric. At the end of the corridor was a highly private viewing room. The room also boasted large floor-to-ceiling windows, offering an excellent view of the miniature ranch and the distant sea of clouds in the city. In the center stood a long table made from a solid piece of warm star-patterned jade, its patterns flowing like a river of stars under the light. "Please, my lady." Morris greeted at the door, his voice low, his gaze lingering on Lu Ling for a moment. Rosanilla clearly was not a first-time visitor. Effortlessly sitting on the sofa by the window, her green eyes curiously watching the alien creatures grazing outside, waving for the maid to bring over a few drinks. Lu Ling walked directly to the head of the long table and sat down, with Ying silently standing behind her. Lu Ling felt a bit nervous, although it didn't show on her face. Over the past 6 months, she had tried her best to integrate into this world, but the constantly refreshing content still challenged her existing perceptions. This was inevitable. Now that Lu Ling had distanced herself from the Red Devil, these people, who seemed so polite on the surface, were actually terrifyingly tight-lipped behind the scenes. A single misstep could lead to dire consequences. "Let us get started. Rachel is likely almost here." Lu Ling's voice was cool, breaking the deliberately created tranquility in the room. Morris did not take a seat, remaining respectfully standing by the door, slightly bowing his head. "Please wait a moment, my lady." Clearly, someone more senior from the pirate crew was about to arrive. The clear and rhythmic sound of footsteps approached from the quiet corridor, covered in thick carpet. Morris bowed again. The owner of the footsteps finally appeared at the door. Lu Ling narrowed her elongated eyes slightly. The newcomer leaned playfully against the doorframe, with flowing golden hair resembling moonlight, held back by an ancient-style dark blue gemstone hairpin, with a few strands falling by her cheeks. Her pupils were a deep icy blue, with cold white skin, a high nose bridge, and distinctly shaped lips. She wore a dark red high-slit gown that seemed out of place in this pastoral setting, tightly fitting her delicate figure and generously showcasing her long legs encased in matte black stockings. Lu Ling? The stunning woman's lips were blood-red and slightly curled upwards. She stepped into the room with a leisurely stride, each step exuding an invisible pressure. "So it's you?" Lu Ling smiled in surprise. unfazed by the woman's imposing presence. It was the pirate princess, Elena. She walked straight to the other end of the long table and sat down, crossing her long, beautiful legs. With one hand resting on the armrest, she propped her chin up and scrutinized her surroundings. By chance, she noticed the man with black hair and black eyes behind Feng Ling, and a hint of surprise crossed her face. It was rare to see someone like him in this star region. I heard from Morris that you want to get rid of Rachel and are prepared to put up a 20 million deposit. Is that right? Yelena said with a teasing smile. What? Has that old dog Rachel forced you into a corner? The air was thick with a faint smell of gunpowder. There was no hypocritical politeness between them. Both were well-known figures in the pirate circles of the autonomous region of Zhuangbai, and they had clashed numerous times. A cold glint flickered in Feng Ling's elongated orange-hued eyes. It's just the situation we are in. What? Doesn't your organization value this small amount of money? TSK. 200 million star coins would be better spent this way. You bring the Crimson Legion to join us. We won't take a single coin from that money. We will help you get rid of that old dog Rachel. Yelena's gaze flickered slightly. Feng Ling, we've been dealing with each other for a long time. You should know that my words are worth 1,000 gold. Morris blinked, a look of helplessness appearing on his pale face. Miss, you truly are a genius in business. Unbeatable. Beside them, Rosanira looked somewhat confused by this exchange. She had less interaction with Yelena and was puzzled, wanting to see if this busty woman was always speaking without thinking. Noticing Yelena glance over, Rosanira quickly put on a charming smile again, picked up her crystal glass, and elegantly took a sip. However, how could a proud eagle like Feng Ling willingly become someone else's cage canary? Rosanira soon understood. Yelena's approach was less about genuine recruitment and more about testing Feng Ling's limits, or perhaps simply to annoy her and suppress her spirit. As for Feng Ling, it seemed she had heard an extremely absurd joke. She didn't even bother to look at Yelena and flipped her hand to reveal her black diamond card. I don't want to waste time with you. If we are to cooperate, have someone come over now. If you look down on this. Feng Ling glanced at Rosanira. Rosanira reacted quickly, putting down her glass. There's no problem on the Blood Alliance side. The deposit will be transferred, and we will act immediately. Humph, unappreciative. Yelena retracted her smile, though it was unclear who she was referring to. She gestured behind her, and Morris immediately nodded respectfully, welcoming the intermediary who had been waiting outside the passage. This person, Mr. J from the Smiling Grimace Agency, was very familiar to Lu Ling. Mr. J wore his trademark professional fake smile. Good afternoon, esteemed guests. We are honored by your trust and are at your service. It was unclear whether Mr. J recognized Lu Ling or not, as he personally took the verification machine that had been pushed over by a servant. This device had a special communication signal that could send messages to the Colossi province 276 light-years away within 2 minutes, limited to bank verification. Feng Ling extended her slender fingers to hold up the card, and Lu Ling understood, taking it and walking over to present it to Mr. J. Mr. J maintained his fake smile throughout, bowing as he took it with both gloved hands, seemingly not recognizing who it was. The process was reminiscent of the initial transaction with Lu Ling. For minutes later, the signals transmitted by the instruments were confirmed to be accurate. At this moment, whether it was Rosanella, Yelena, or the standing Maurice, they all cast a deep glance at Feng Ling. Their identities and strengths were on par, if one could only boast. In a chaotic and disorderly place like Blackwater Bay, they would end up as nothing but bones. 20 million for one party meant 40 million for two. And whether it was the Black Flag or the Blood Alliance, their best revenue in 2 years barely amounted to that. Therefore, the 200 million star coins on that black diamond card were most likely genuine. Mr. J completed the transaction, and the mask first transformed into a smiling face. The deal was done, and the transaction fee had been deducted as agreed. We will securely transport the star coins within 10 minutes. After saying this, the mask turned into a bitter expression. I regret to inform you, esteemed lords, that my agency is currently unable to take on transaction orders exceeding 1 million in quantity. A hint of surprise flickered in everyone's eyes, including Feng Ling's, but she quickly reacted and glanced at Lu Ling. Lu Ling remained extremely calm and returned the card to her. Yelena, however, was somewhat curious. Weren't you boasting about cash flow of 60 million for this calendar year? It's only been a third of the time, right? Which wealthy client is so generous that they can drain your pool all at once? After saying this, she looked at Feng Ling with a meaningful expression. Mr. J was very astute, and the mask displayed a professional helplessness as he slightly bowed. Lady Yelena, you are indeed well informed, but all of you are esteemed VIPs. Client privacy is the foundation of our agency, and I cannot disclose such information. Updates will be released to the black market. The behind-the-scenes owner of the Smile Agency had a unique relationship with Blackwater Bay. Yelena was merely inquiring and certainly did not intend to cause any trouble, so she waved her hand to have Maurice escort her out. Now that the money was in place, the atmosphere in the private room became even more delicate. Chapter 53. showdown the universe was dim. However, the starry sky outside Blackwater Bay was not as tranquil as it appeared. The Steel-Tooth-class destroyer led the charge, its tail rudder displaying jagged scars under the glow of the thrusters, resembling the fangs of a hellish demon spewing fire. Report. The distance to the Yangtze's coordinates is still 460 kilometers. According to intelligence analysis, we are nearing the target's maximum effective range. The Mamba snake listened to the navigator's report, took a deep puff of his cigar, the spicy smoke burning his throat but bringing a touch of morbid excitement. All weapons ready. In 30 seconds. Deploy the assault boats and drones. Yes, boss. The weapons officer's shout echoed with similar madness. Buzzing sounds filled the Steel-Tooth's deck as the metal-clad hangar emitted a piercing noise. The orange warning lights spun continuously as the hydraulic device that had been operational for over 3,000 years slowly unfolded its armored casing. Thousands of pirate commandos rushed into small boats, while the engineering department rolled out handcrafted self-destruct drones for final safety checks. Action. In an instant, assault boats leaped off the deck, their rear engines emitting bright orange flames as they rapidly departed from the mothership. Following closely behind, drones surged out of their mother base like a flood, leaving trails of fire as they wove together in the void, forming a deadly net that covered the sky. The Steel Hammer and Steel Knife vessels also opened their gates simultaneously, adding more assault boats and drones to the fray. On the bridge of the Night Orchid, a holographic radar screen displayed a dense array of red dots, resembling a surging tide, overwhelming the scan sector at an astonishing speed. Lian sat calmly in the captain's seat, showing no signs of disturbance. The enemy targets were about to enter range. The fire control team raised their voices. With the radar officer following up, the local number of enemy assault boats exceeds 300, and the local count of the drone swarm is 16,812. In the past, the main control intelligence of the Night Orchid would have been overloaded, unable to compute such detailed trajectory data. However, at this moment, it was clear that no one cared about this change except for him. The entire fleet received the order to transfer core energy to the side weapon systems and armor. Free fire. Lian issued the command. The Red Tooth acknowledged. Inside the massive hull of the Night Orchid, countless energy conduits buzzed into life as 18 325mm triple-barreled artillery turrets extended from the armor, their 7-meter-long barrels dark and hollow. Quickly aiming at the predetermined location, load high explosive shells. Inside the turret, two burly gunners, aided by mechanical arms, loaded the 360-kilogram shells into the chambers. Repeating this process 3 times in just a few seconds, the enemy targets entered maximum range. Fire. Lian's voice was cold. The enormous hull of the Night Orchid shook violently. And in an instant, all 18 heavy guns fired in unison. The deafening roar echoed through the ship as the thick barrels outside unleashed blazing flames stretching over 1,000 meters into the void. The trajectory of the shells was not a straight shot, but rather with a preset delay fuse and ballistic corrections. In just a few moments, they closed in on the incoming assault boats, and at the moment of contact with the target cluster, it was as if dozens of miniature suns had ignited. The firelight merged into a single blaze in the silent universe. Metal fragments swirled like a storm, instantly shredding the assault boats in the vicinity. While the drones were reduced to powder by the shockwave and debris, continue loading high explosive shells. At the site of the fire 400 kilometers away, the brilliant light illuminated the jagged bow of the Steel Tooth, as Mamba stared at the screen, filled with bloodshot eyes, at the massive green dots that had vanished. Damn it, where did that bitch Phone Ling get so many high explosive shells? Not only are high explosive shells long range, but they are also powerful. Their only drawback is their cost. As the saying goes, it's easy to acquire a dilapidated secondhand ship, but munitions, especially this type of highly concentrated tactical high-explosive nuclear bomb with a vast kill radius, have always been strictly searched by the naval forces. Even if they could be obtained in Blackwater Bay, the price would be exorbitant. It was unexpected that Phone Ling could acquire so many at once. He was actually very reluctant to engage with Phone Ling. Their fortress was not as quick in making money as the other forces, and even when they did get funds, they had to first show respect to their superiors to secure their own positions. The little that was left wasn't enough for their indulgences. So how could they possibly afford such expensive ammunition? This single shell costs at least several thousand star coins. When the cannon fires, it's worth its weight in gold. Spread out. All assault teams, spread out. Mamba ordered angrily, then connected to the fleet's communication. All ships, port side, prepare to engage. Focus fire on the Night Jasmine. Fire. At that moment, both the Night Jasmine and the Red Tooth had loaded their second wave, and the cannons roared in unison. A brilliant light tore through the void, blooming briefly. This made Mamba's forehead vein bulge, and an ominous premonition arose. In the next moment, concentrated bursts of energy erupted again. Waves of energy rippling through the air like stones thrown into water. More explosive shells. Beep beep. A rapid red alert sounded, and the close defense officer's voice was urgent. All personnel, prepare for impact. The sounds of countless safety belts engaging echoed as they secured the bridge crew tightly. Boom. The bridge of the steel tooth shook violently, the massive canopy glass trembling, and the impact reverberated through the ship's structure, causing it to tilt and sway. Mamba could no longer endure it and ordered, all ships, load carbon ball ammunition. Get those hidden cruise missiles loaded. Counterattack. Hit back hard. Carbon ball ammunition is the most commonly used ammo for projectile weapons and is also the cheapest consumable for medium-range fire, with a maximum effective range of 380 kilometers. The carbon ball ammunition was loaded. The cruise missiles were sent to the launch silos. Target locked on the left side of the Night Jasmine. Fire. Boom boom. As the steel tooth shook violently, a metallic hum filled the air, and countless cannons erupted with a deep roar. Enemy assault boats have breached the outer fire network. They have entered the close defense zone. Over 200 of them. The radar officer's voice was grave. Enemy drones are expected to approach in 26 seconds. Activate closed defense laser arrays. Energy supply at 15%. Fire all interceptors, and allow each gun crew to change ammunition and fire freely. 2 continuous commands were issued. The close defense laser array activated. 15% of energy supplied. Interceptors launched, with an estimated effective interception rate of 43%. That's enough. With a flicker of her gaze, Lien ordered the assault team to head to the deck and prepare for action. Report. Detected enemy missile signals. Expected to hit the left side at D37, D47, D48, D57 in 15 seconds. Lien tightened her grip on the captain's chair, turned the helm hard left, and set the side thrusters to 80% power, making maximum evasive maneuvers, while prioritizing intercepting missiles with the close defense array. They're coming. All hands prepare for impact. The close defense officer shouted, activating the bridge's impact mode. Everyone donned a layer of cushioning safety belts again. Outside the operational porthole on the left side of the bridge, projectiles were visibly rushing towards them. Bang, 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 bang. The dense carbon ball ammunition pelted against the left side armor like hail. 2 gun turrets were even directly destroyed and reduced to scrap metal, and a deep rumble echoed throughout the ship. The armor plate instantly dented and twisted, sparks flying everywhere. A painful metallic groan echoed from within the hull. The main armor in the portside D4 area was damaged. The buffer layer was 64 compromised. It did not penetrate. The voice of the damage control officer was urgent. At that moment, several cruise missiles with long tails silently swooped towards the ship. The laser close-in defense system reacted swiftly, shooting several streams of yellow energy into the void with precision. Almost instantly, all 4 incoming cruise missiles detonated in a series of explosions, illuminating everyone's faces with the bright flames, and the shockwave caused the bridge to tremble slightly. All missiles intercepted. The close-in defense officer was stunned. He was well aware of the shortcomings of this old defense system. In the past, facing such a saturation attack, being able to intercept half would have been a miracle. Yet this time, all 4 cruise missiles were destroyed so cleanly? Could it be outdated equipment? No. It must be our new chief mechanic, Lord Lu Ling. The figure of the black-haired, black-eyed individual flashed through his mind. The captain, seated at the helm, also seemed to notice the subtle changes aboard the ship, a nearly imperceptible look of relief crossing his icy blue eyes. In the engine room of the ship, Vance was shaken to disorientation, his body suspended in the zero-gravity environment, and he barely stabilized himself by gripping a side pipe with his mechanical arm. His oil-stained face was serious, fixated on the main machine parameters and the 2 futuristic-looking devices. Thick cables were constantly flashing with energy flows, supplying power wildly. What the hell is this? When did it appear here? He could swear that just hours ago, this place was completely empty. Could it be that Vance remembered, at the departure, Lu Ling had sent him away? But there was no time to dwell on it. Urgent alarms blared from the control panel. Not good. The energy consumption of Reactor 1 is too fast. Quickly replace the depleted helium. 3 fuel rods. He yelled at the reactor operator. Maximum output for the cooling system. Don't worry about coolant loss. These 2 unknown devices were like energy monsters. They instantly drained at least a third of the ship's reserve energy, forcing the shutdown of some areas to allocate all power for combat needs. Report. The energy conduit in area D47 is damaged. It is about to break. Shut the D47 valve. Vance shouted. Edmund, take 2 people to fix it. I'll give you 5 minutes. No, 3 minutes. Yes, we will complete the task. A bald mechanic immediately signaled 2 others, and they floated down the corridor. Position of the steel tooth. All cruise missiles were intercepted. The weapons officer stared intensely at the disappearing missile signals on the screen. These were their trump cards, specifically designed to deal with capital ships, ultra-high-speed cruise missiles. Each one worth tens of thousands of star coins. They were their accumulated savings over several years. How could this happen? The Mamba narrowed his eyes. His voice filled with suppressed anger. The ship could not possibly have such an advanced missile defense system. Did you mess up the fuses? Or did you load training rounds instead? Silence. No one dared to answer. Damn it. He paced back and forth on the bridge like a mad beast trapped in a cage. An extreme sense of frustration and fear of the unknown gnawed at his heart like a venomous snake. Did he really have to fight to the death? Suddenly, he remembered the scene of communicating with Lady Sarah. At that time, he was only focused on maintaining appearances, but now that he thought about it, Lady Sarah seemed to be on the ship. The Mamba returned to the captain's seat, grinning ferociously. Changed the formation for a full-on assault. Open fire with everything. No need to conserve ammunition. Engines at full power. Just charge right in. We have the numbers. Engage in a boarding battle. Yes. The steel hammer and steel blade also pressed on, bracing themselves against the roar of the Mamba. In small-scale space battles, close combat is typically chosen only when there is an absolute advantage, sacrificing long-range firepower and maneuverability. To actively attack and engage a fully equipped defender is akin to slow suicide. Now, they could only hope that the assault team could break through. Chapter 54. Variables. The assault craft charging towards the Night Orchid had entered the defensive perimeter. Administer the drugs. Success hinges on this one move. The low growl of the scar-faced pirate echoed in the cramped, sweat-soaked, and oil-scented cabin of the assault craft. The pirates pulled out stimulants and injected them into their thick arms. The cold liquids surged into their bodies, instantly heightening their spirits. The fear born of the dread of death vanished, replaced by an almost inhuman clarity and calmness. Devil's drug, the foundation of the Red Devils. As for the side effects, ha ha ha, you have to survive to enjoy them. Kill. Such was the life of a pirate. Once they walked this path, there was no turning back. The engines of the assault craft emitted a piercing shriek as the pilot maneuvered skillfully to evade the close-in weaponry of the Night Orchid, but still, some smaller crafts were precisely destroyed by lasers, exploding upon impact. Entering range. Fire missiles. Blow up those 4 laser towers. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Several small, high-speed anti-armor missiles shot out from the launch tubes on both sides of the assault craft. They trailed slender tails of fire, accurately targeting the 4 laser defense turrets that were wreaking havoc. However, a dozen assault crafts slid out from the Night Orchid and the Red Fawn, ready to confront the enemy. The pirates' missiles were detonated in midair less than 100 meters from their target. A massive fireball expanded, casting a scorching light on the cold, heavy armor of the Night Orchid. It's the Red Soldiers. Kill. The skirmish instantly escalated into a heated battle. Was the Mamba truly prepared to fight to the death? Lien sensed something unusual. This was not a simple probe, and a vague premonition began to form. Just then, the radar officer's voice suddenly rose. Report. Multiple spatial jump reactions detected. Coordinates B74, Y493. The universe was boundless. Continuous flashes of white light flickered in the distance, and the ripples in space struck the hearts of everyone on the battlefield like an invisible hammer. The brilliance reflected on the faces of everyone on the bridge of the Night Orchid, making them pale. 8 steel starships emerged from the jump gate, gliding towards the battlefield. They were covered in matte black armor, their hulls sleek like cold blades, exuding an aura of death. The prow was adorned with a crimson devil's skull, glowing ominously under the fading light of the jump. Madam, it's time. On the bridge of the Steel Tooth, a beam coalesced, revealing the figure of a woman. Dressed in a deep purple gown made of heavy velvet that cascaded to the ground, her silhouette was entirely enveloped, leaving only a heavy, oppressive outline. The first thing that caught the eye was her dark gray, slightly curled long hair, closely hugging her profile and revealing a pale neck devoid of color. The contours of her cheeks faintly hinted at past elegance, yet her skin bore the pallor of someone long deprived of sunlight. Her lips were thin and cold, and her gaze was piercing. Madam. The Mamba serpent left the captain's seat, kneeling on one knee with his head bowed, cold sweat soaking his back. I'll spare your worthless life. The voice of Madame Sarah was devoid of emotion. The Mamba serpent's body trembled almost imperceptibly. Thank you for your benevolence, madam. He lifted his head, his tone obsequious. The 2 ships of the Red Legion have been completely restrained by me. Once you take action, the subordinates of Feng Ling will surely be annihilated. Flagship of the Crimson Devil Fleet, the Mandala-class destroyer. Madame Sarah's eyes slowly scanned the screen displaying the Night Orchid and the Red Tooth, which were currently ensnared by the fortress's assault boats. Her gaze ultimately returned to the kneeling Mamba serpent, her eyes assessing him like a pet dog awaiting its owner's reward after performing a trick. A thin smile curved her lips. Then let it be so. The Mamba serpent's heart sank. After the communication was cut off, Madame Sarah's expression remained cold as she summoned her aide. The aide, standing in her shadow, stepped forward immediately. He was a man whose beauty bordered on the otherworldly. With pale skin and delicate features, yet a black leather collar clasped tightly around his neck, adorned with small bells that jingled with his every movement. Master. The man knelt on both knees, prostrating himself on the ground. Contact the intermediaries in Blackwater Bay and issue a bounty of 1,000,000 star coins for Fengling. At your command. On the bridge of the Night Orchid, every crew member held their breath, their throats tightening. The icy blue of Lian's eyes reflected the 8 black warships on the main screen, her gaze quickly scanning the battlefield display. The Red Devil's ships were about to form an encirclement. At the current speed of the Night Orchid, there was still a chance to retreat. No. The Night Orchid can now leave at leisure. Contact the leader. Connection failed. The communication channel is under attack. Lian took a deep breath and issued her command. Weapons team. Fire at will. Do not conserve ammunition. Received. Engage the Red Tooth. Lian's voice showed no sign of hesitation. Mulan appeared on the projection, her brow furrowed, clearly under significant pressure as the designated protector. I'll cover you. You break through immediately. Mulan gave Lian a deep look. Take care. Connect to the assault team. A slender face appeared on the main screen, with a violently shaking cabin view in the background, and the blinding light of explosions flickered across it. Clearly, the battle was intense. 3 minutes. Eliminate these trash and return. The response was brief after a 2-second silence. Yes. Area A3, Dome Oasis number 24. Morning Dew Ranch. Inside the secretive and luxurious private room, only Fengling, Yelena, and the attendants Lu Ling and Ing remained. Rose and Ella had left earlier. Morris hurried in. The Red Devil has already appeared outside Blackwater Bay. It's led by Sarah, and they are currently engaged in a firefight. After he finished speaking, he glanced at Fengling. The Rust Brotherhood has issued a bounty of 1,000,000 star coins for Lord Fengling. In the past, a bounty of 1,000,000 might have tempted the Black Flag. But now, after receiving a hefty deposit of 20 million, this number seemed pale and laughable. His mindset had unconsciously changed. Similarly, this news stirred no ripples in the private room. Fengling's narrow eyes turned to Yelena. It's your turn to work. Can your plan really work? Sarah is not easy to deal with, and among Rachel's many women, the one in command is no less capable than me. Yelena set down her wine glass. Leaning slightly forward, her dark red high-slit dress outlining the exquisite curves of her figure. You think too highly of her. Fengling offered no further explanation. As long as you follow my plan, today will be Sarah's demise. This calm, yet arrogant tone left Yelena uncertain, but anyone who could sit in this position was astute. Just to be clear, the ultimate goal of our cooperation is to eliminate Rachel. The Black Flag won't go all out for Sarah, Yelena said seriously. That's fine. Damn it. Fengling's attitude drove her a bit crazy. Yelena and Morris's figures disappeared behind the door, and the private room fell silent. Only the gentle sound of the breeze rustling through the greenery remained. Blackwater Bay had always been the stronghold of the Black Flag, with at least 7 or 8 ships of the pirate crew stationed there. Fengling quietly savored the specialty drink, a rare coffee variety from a distant agricultural satellite. Its aroma unique and rich. Lu Ling felt a bit envious. Even as the chief mechanic, he had found it hard to partake in such luxuries before. In Blackwater Bay, as long as one had money, anything could be obtained. At that moment, someone pushed the door open, and Lu Ling instinctively reached for the pulse pistol at his waist. The newcomer wore a cap and seemed casually dressed in deep gray leisure wear, but the tactical belt and the nano armor belt hanging at his waist revealed his identity. It was the belt of Bloodshark Thomas. For some reason, seeing one of his own brought Lu Ling a sense of safety. Since being brought by Fengling to this perilous place called Blackwater Bay, he had never dared to let his guard down. Especially after personally participating in the crazy negotiation of 200 million star coins, his nerves were on edge. He really couldn't understand why Fengling had to show off her wealth so ostentatiously. What puzzled him even more was that the two old pirate organizations, the Black Sails and the Blood Alliance, actually resisted the temptation of this money. That was 200 million star coins. If he had that much, he would confront them directly, buy dozens of cannons in one go, and unleash the battleship of the Death Vortex. Sigh so poor. Chief, everything is ready. Bloodshark slightly bowed, his voice deep and respectful. Fengling put down her crystal cup, which made a crisp sound as it touched the star-patterned jade table. Her orange-hued eyes swept over Bloodshark and finally landed on Lu Ling. Before we leave, clean up the Iron Rust Brotherhood and discuss that old hag, Sarah. Understood. Bloodshark grinned, revealing his white teeth. Lu Ling's heart sank. He had a bad premonition. This woman had not taken her eyes off him since she first looked at him, even when she was giving orders. Sure enough, my chief mechanic is currently short-handed. You take that little slave girl and go with Bloodshark to get the job done. FCK. Fengling finished speaking without waiting for his response, waved at Ing, and left the room first. Inside the private room, the flames of gossip burned brightly in Bloodshark's eyes. Tell me the truth, do you have some special skills? Why is the chief so polite to you? Lu Ling touched his nose. Special skills? Does the system count? But it was not very useful. He didn't even have a starter pack. Chapter 55. Black Sails. The Black Sails, notorious pirates born and active in the Zhuangbai Autonomous Region, are infamous. However, their origins are not traditional pirates, but rather a group established by a noble known as Jilin 400 years ago. They recruited outlaws to carry out unsavory tasks such as raiding enemy noble merchant ships, assassinating key figures, sabotaging competitors' industries, and even inciting small-scale border conflicts. They were marked by their black sails, hence the name Black Sails. 80 years ago, the Jilin family was ruthlessly purged by the ruling Zhuangbai family. Core members were executed or exiled, and the vast estate accumulated over centuries was divided. The Black Sails, having lost the support of the Jilin family, did not perish. They survived using part of the Jilin family's legacy during the purge. After gaining independence, the Black Sails set their sights on the lawless area of Blackwater Bay at the fringes of the Zhuangbai Autonomous Region. With their unique operational style and accumulated foundation, they quickly established a foothold in this chaotic land and became one of the core forces in the following decades. Jilin Yelena, as a surviving descendant of the Jilin family, stood out in the brutal power struggles within the Black Sails due to her innate sharp perception. Moreover, she later became one of the 7 captains, commanding the ship named Black Sail Princess. Known for her beauty and cruelty, it is said that after each raid, she would water a rare bloodthirsty rose on her ship with the blood of her enemies. Over time, her name struck fear into all interstellar pirates, mercenaries, and even noble merchant fleets. A completely black destroyer, adorned with a blood-red rose emblem at its bow, tore through the night like a ghost, crashing through meteors and emerging from the fragmented star route of Blackwater Bay. Its armor glimmered with a cold matte finish, and the array of side-mounted gun turrets extended menacingly, prowling. Following closely was another destroyer of the same class, but with a distinctly different aura, the Black Edge. Its darkness was equally profound, yet its lines were more austere and restrained, the hull's silhouette seemingly merging with the shadows, exuding a precise and deadly subtlety. Unlike the Vanguard, which flaunted the art of destruction, it resembled a black dagger hidden in its sheath, stealthily moving through the shadows. Behind these 2 main destroyers were 6 slightly smaller black-sailed frigates, loyal and bloodthirsty hunting hounds, forming a protective formation around the Black Sail Princess and Black Edge. As the Black Sails unfurled, the entire fleet departed from Blackwater Bay with an oppressive posture, heading straight for the main battlefield of the Red Devil Civil War. Their mere presence was like cold water poured into a boiling pot of oil, instantly halting the chaos of this lawless land. Is that Yelena of the Black Sails? What are they up to? Hee. In my view, the Black Sails and the Red Devils have always been archenemies. Now that the Red Devils are embroiled in conflict with someone unknown, the Black Sails surely missed this opportunity to strike. The pirate channel outside was filled with whispers of uncertainty, but all discussions had no effect on that Black Fleet. On the bridge of the Black Sail Princess, compared to the fierce explosions and shockwaves in the distance, a tranquil and cold fragrance filled the air, the unique scent emitted by the blood rose of Sarat. Yelena leaned against the captain's seat, dressed in a dark red high-slit gown that was out of place on the battlefield, hugging her delicate figure. Beneath the skirt, her long, beautiful legs were wrapped in matte black stockings, crossed over each other, with high heels kicked aside, gently swaying her rounded toes while humming a tune. Her golden hair cascaded down, and her deep ice-blue eyes reflected the flickering messages on the holographic tactical screen. Such a barbaric and aesthetically displeasing bite, Yelena murmured softly. A communication appeared on the main screen, revealing a figure wearing a white mask, the warden of the Black Sails. The mask was smooth and cold, devoid of any features, presenting a pure and unsettling blankness. It belonged to the master of the Black Edge, whose true face was nearly unknown to anyone. Yelena, rare to see you finally making a profitable deal. Humph. Yelena's gaze was cold and disdainful. You, a money-hungry frog, dare to evaluate my decisions? Mind your own Black Edge. If anything goes wrong this time, my father won't spare you. The masked figure remained motionless. What is the contribution this time? Sarah is not easy to deal with. Stop the chatter, just charge with me. Seconds later, the holographic figure abruptly extinguished, as if the previous conversation had never occurred. Open communications for the entire fleet. Yelena adjusted her seating posture, her chest facing forward, the neckline of her dark red gown outlining a graceful curve. Received. The communications officer swiftly acted. Fleet communications activated. Encryption level at maximum. Yelena's gaze swept across the tactical star map, locking onto the direction of the Red Devil. All fleets, relay my orders. Enter Level 1 combat readiness. Mark the Red Devil with a cosmic wave identification code. Adjust to red, hostile segment, highest priority. Form an assault formation, engines at maximum power, full speed ahead. All launch silos, load cruise missiles. No need for second confirmation. Fire directly upon reaching target range. In the next moment, the signal originally displayed as white, neutral, For the red devil on the tactical sand table was replaced by a scarlet hue, the cold hostile label branded onto every target. The fleet responded swiftly. The flagship, the Black Sail Princess, erupted with an unprecedented blinding blue light from its rear thruster. The massive thrust causing the bridge to tremble as it accelerated like an arrow released from a bow. Following closely was the Black Edge, a sleek and cold-looking destroyer. Its engine nozzles also igniting with a dazzling bluish glow, shadowing closely on the flanks. Among the 6 frigates, 4, with their lighter mass, quickly adjusted their positions. Sailing to the front of the flagship, forming a sharp triangular assault formation like a well-trained pack of wolves, maintaining precise spacing. The belly armor of 2 destroyers opened, revealing rows of dark vertical launch silo covers. Ready. Receive orders. Load cruise missiles. The gunners of the weapon team sprang into action, working in coordination to haul out the over 20-meter-long giant missiles from the designated signal jamming warehouse. Engineers quickly flew over, opening the circuit control panels to input attack programs using homemade decoders. These cruise missiles all came from the military factory of the Zhuangbai family, and all parts could only fit Zhuangbai's combat system. For the pirates to use them, they either had to acquire a complete Zhuangbai combat system, which was nearly impossible in Blackwater Bay, or, like this, forcibly crack the security lock using fixed procedures, then manually activate the guidance system to lock onto targets for attack. It sounded like a lot of steps, but the operation was simple. The security lock keys for these cruise missiles could almost be bought anywhere in Blackwater Bay. However, this brute force cracking had a fatal flaw. Once the security lock was disabled, it had to be used immediately. If the security lock wasn't disabled, the missiles had to be stored in the signal jamming warehouse. Otherwise, if they encountered a Zhuangbai patrol ship in space, the missiles might receive their signals and could be remotely detonated at any moment. The Black Sail pirates, having emerged from nobility, could easily acquire these high-end goods thanks to some long-standing connections, even with the Jylland family having been wiped out. In Blackwater Bay, the largest seller of cruise missiles produced by the Zhuangbai family was the Black Sail Trading Company. On the tactical sand table, the fleet continued to close in on the enemy's red dot. Activate electronic suppression. Yelena continued to issue orders. An invisible electronic storm swept across the battlefield. The electronic warfare array of the Black Sail fleet operated at full power, with powerful jamming waves forming an invisible net over the communications and fire control systems of the Red Devil fleet. This was the Black Sail pirates' consistent tactic, relying on advanced electronic warfare suppression, crude and straightforward. The flagship of the Red Devil, the Mandala, detected a large number of Black Sail pirate ships appearing. Direction B-73, Y-455. Quantity 8. Report. The fleet is under intense electronic interference. Some fire control systems have failed. Warning. A large number of cruise missile signals detected. Direction B-73, Y-455. The current interception rate is below 10%. Who is it? Has the Black Flag declared war on U.S.? Lady Sarah's usually dignified face showed a rare hint of surprise, and then her gaze decisively turned to the tactical display. 8 white identification signals were rapidly approaching the friendly position in a triangular formation, and her well-maintained complexion immediately flushed with anger. Yelena, that madwoman. Lady Sarah narrowed her eyes. Despite her deep-seated curses, she maintained the dignity of the fleet commander. Taking a deep breath before issuing the counterattack order, mark the Black Flag with Cosmic Wave Identification Code, lock on red, hostile segment. In the next moment, the Black Flag pirate signal, originally displayed in white, neutral, was replaced by a vivid crimson. Once marked red, it meant a complete breakdown of relations between the two sides. Leaving no room for negotiation, 10 intermediaries would all be eliminated. Fengling, is this your backing? Lady Sarah squeezed out this sentence through clenched teeth, her gaze flickering. Cruise missiles are expected to approach in 10 seconds. Activate all energy transmission close-in defense systems. Intercept as much as possible. Deploy anti-missile decoys. The fleet turns hard to port to evade, and the starboard engine power to maximum. Engage the central armor. Sarah's handsome adjutant issued the most basic anti-missile command. 10 seconds is just a few breaths. Here they come. Brace for impact. Inside the bridge, the piercing alarm, the warnings of system failures, and the crew's suppressed gasps intertwined, creating a suffocating background noise. The Mandala's side and bow and stern close-in gun turrets roared as if mad, weaving a dense barrage in an attempt to intercept the swarm of incoming missiles. Bright fireballs exploded violently in the void ahead of the fleet, their reflections visible on every face and in every pupil. However, there were too many missiles. Furthermore, the electronic interference severely weakened the fire control accuracy of the Red Devil. And aside from a few successful interceptions, the remaining missiles, trailing cold flames, plunged with near-straight trajectories into the Red Devil fleet formation. Continuous violent explosions sounded like heavy drumbeats. pounding heavily on the armor of every Red Devil warship. Sound cannot travel in a vacuum, but the dull thud and violent vibrations transmitted through the armor were more terrifying than any sound. Boom. The Mandala's bridge shook violently, accompanied by the metallic wails. The powerful impact caused everyone to uncontrollably lean towards the opposite direction. Fortunately, the bridge's armor was the thickest, reinforced with 2 layers of 2,000 millimeters homogeneous composite, thermal-resistant armor plates. But not every ship was so fortunate. 5 kilometers away from the Mandala, the Chiyu-class frigate was engulfed in flames as at least 13 missiles struck its port front, midsection, and stern almost simultaneously. The heavy armor was torn and melted like paper, exposing the grotesque skeletal structure and twisted pipelines inside. The violent explosion energy surged inward, triggering the reactor and causing a devastating secondary explosion. A massive fireball erupted, splitting the entire hull in two, with debris rolling about and countless pirates turning to ashes in an instant. The Chiyu class has been sunk. Repeat, the Chiyu class has been sunk. The Wildfire class jump engine is severely damaged. Our ship's armor has taken 17 hits. The B-zone compartments have lost pressure, and the isolation doors have been activated. The damage control team has connected and is assessing casualties. Outside the porthole, the scene was hellish, with burning wreckage, floating corpses, and emergency escape lifeboat signals everywhere. The last time such a large-scale conflict occurred was during the colonial satellite terror attack, planned by Rachel a decade ago. Lesan knew that the Red Devils were completely trapped here. Fengling, what kind of sedative did you use to make Yelena so willing? The cold light in her eyes was no longer concealed. The sudden attack by the Black Sail was far more ruthless and decisive than she had anticipated. When the cannons roar, fortunes are made, and just this reckless offensive by the Black Sail had cost nearly 1 million star coins and years of missile reserves. Since the mask had been torn off, they had to go all out. The aftermath of the first barrage of missiles had yet to dissipate, and the more deadly second strike was likely already en route. The entire fleet is to evade freely, moving around 540 kilometers in the direction of B-73 Y-455. Free counterattack. Chapter 56. The Rust Brotherhood 140 kilometers away from the Red Devil's fleet. Mamba was in shock. The Black Sail pirates. How could the Black Sail suddenly attack the Red Devils? This was a direct fleet confrontation, not the usual cat-and-mouse game. The Chiyu class was gone in a flash, and the Black Sail must have used a significant number of missile reserves. Thoughts raced through Mamba's mind, and at that moment, with his life hanging by a thread, instinctively, his mind became clear. Suddenly, a flash of jump light tore through the darkness. Boss, the Chiyu class has escaped. Mamba looked up sharply and saw the red dot representing the Chiyu class rapidly leaving the battlefield on the tactical map, disappearing in an instant. Sweat beaded on his forehead. Lady Sarah was definitely too busy to care about him now. His Steel-Tooth class had limited long-range ammunition reserves, and even in a 3-to-1 scenario, he might not win against the Yelenshan class, let alone with the Black Sail killers nearby. Boss, all our assault team signals have disappeared. This statement was like the last straw, completely crushing Mamba's sense of hope. It was truly hell on earth. As for any credit, Sarah's threats were worthless in the face of survival. He just wanted to get as far away from this increasingly uncontrollable chaos as possible. Over the years, Mamba had learned the ways of survival, but this time he sensed the countdown to his own body burning. Slow down. Slow down. Immediately slowed down. The Mamba ordered hastily to form a defensive formation. Don't charge. Cover with volleys. The blue light of the Steel-Tooth's rear thruster suddenly dimmed, and its speed sharply decreased. The Steel Hammer and Steel Blade immediately followed suit, quickly retracting their formation as they watched the Night Orchid grow more distant. Mamba focused on the main battlefield, only wanting to hold on, waiting for Black Sail and Sarah to yield results, or for a chance to escape. On the bridge of the Night Orchid. Report. The Red Fong has exited the battlefield. All assault teams have returned. The Steel Tooth, Steel Blade, and Steel Hammer had ceased their pursuit and formed a defensive formation. High-intensity electronic interference detected. Direction B-73, Y-455. It seemed the leader had succeeded and truly convinced Black Sail. Lotus watched the tactical display where the Red Devil and Black Sail pirate fleet were engaged in fierce battle, admiration flooding her eyes, though she concealed it well. And it quickly faded. All energy supply to the jump engine. Jump coordinates set to direction C-249, beacon activated. Lotus did not take the opportunity to attack or delay the fortress forces, nor did she attempt to assist the Black Sail pirates. On her tactical display, the Black Sail pirates remained marked as white signals. She always remembered Fengling's words, to protect the Night Orchid. Energy began to flow to the jump engine, which was preparing and calibrating the ship's posture. Estimated time 42 seconds. The lights on the bridge visibly dimmed. Lotus looked out the window. The universe was dark, and in the distance, the massive Blackwater Bay resembled a giant spiral celestial body, devouring starlight. Hell on earth, she murmured. Calibration complete. Jump engine activated. The engine's rear nozzle of the Night Orchid spewed forth an almost blinding torrent of ion streams, vanishing in a flash. Inside Blackwater Bay, in the cramped passenger seat of the flying car, Lu Ling watched the increasingly distant Sky City, slowly retracting her gaze. The blood shark was driving fiercely, weaving up and down through the traffic. Compared to the luxury of their arrival, their departure was low-key and shabby. The front hood of the flying car bore rust marks, and each daring lane change and overtaking made the vehicle groan under the strain. The checkpoint loomed like an island floating in a sea of clouds, with orange-yellow guiding lights flickering in the mist, indicating the way. The blood shark pressed the accelerator, instantly overtaking dozens of vehicles and squeezing into the tunnel-like checkpoint. In a moment, the world darkened, and the neon river below surged toward them. The flying car plunged headlong into the neon port. Countless holographic projections intertwined beneath the hundreds of meters high dome, forming a flowing sea of neon. Giant billboards hovered in midair, blasting ear-splitting advertisements. Suddenly, a glaring red billboard caught his attention. Iron Rust Brotherhood, the Red Devil's leader, Feng Ling, has betrayed us. Now offering a bounty of 1 million star coins for her capture, with genetic matching of over 60 to claim the reward anonymously. Below was a portrait of Feng Ling, still as stunning, with a cold gaze that viewed life as trivial. The bounty of 1,000,000 star coins was deliberately enlarged, igniting the already boiling desires of Neon Port. Feng Ling, catch that red-haired woman. I'm not. Ha ha ha. Just because you say you're not, doesn't mean you're not. Wait until I kill you, and we'll see if your genes are real. Looking for death. Lu Ling barely opened the car window when a cacophony of gunfire, explosions, screams, and maniacal laughter erupted. The roar of engines and deafening music intertwined, creating a disorienting atmosphere. This was the true Blackwater Bay. Flames shot up in the narrow alleyways. Thick smoke billowed. A burly man wielding an energy axe laughed maniacally as he brought down a red-haired man, brutally decapitating him. Meanwhile, two rival gangs fired at each other over the red-haired lead, energy beams zipping through the crowd, injuring countless innocents. The entire Neon Harbor, the most prosperous city of desire in Blackwater Bay, had now descended into a bloody carnival under a bounty. Greed, violence, and chaos spread like a plague, obliterating any semblance of order. Were these people fools? Lu Ling was perplexed. Fools. Which of them has survived to this point as a fool? They simply found an excuse to vent their desires. The Blackwater Bay Management Committee would naturally seek trouble with the Rust Brotherhood. Bloodshark, cigarette in mouth, steered with one hand, letting the wild wind rush in. The Blackwater Bay Management Committee? In the flying car, Bloodshark seemed to notice the confusion in Lu Ling's eyes. Just a bunch of businessmen. As long as they don't stir up trouble in the core area of Neon Harbor or the city in the sky, a little money will smooth things over. Suddenly, Bloodshark's tone shifted, grinning menacingly. But our leader has specifically called for the heads of those two brothers. The flying car quickly left Neon Harbor and entered the Gear Industrial Zone, which was noticeably quieter than the former. The Gear Industrial Zone operated under corporate systems, and those who could establish factories here often had strong backgrounds, with countless guards and security. These people just wanted to vent their desires on the weak. They weren't looking for death. Damn it, finally a bit quieter. Bloodshark spat out his cigarette, but enclosed the car window, shutting out the cold air outside. He drove at high speed, and after several minutes, Lu Ling saw Rust City. This giant nest, constructed from countless abandoned ships and industrial waste, was permeated with a heavy smell of rust, rotten oil, and the sickly sweet stench of some low-quality stimulant. The chaos here was more primitive and savage than in Neon Harbor. The sound of dense gunfire, explosions, and the roars of genetic beasts could be heard from afar. Bloodshark quickly maneuvered the flying car into a shadowy area formed by enormous abandoned shipping containers, which was relatively distant and secluded compared to Rust City. We're here. Bloodshark got out first, and Lu Ling followed, opening the car door. A golden-brown silhouette quickly dashed out from the shadows. Savina approached Lu Ling directly, her steel-blue eyes filled with worry as she examined him closely. Behind her were 6 of Feng Ling's loyal guards, but upon Bloodshark's arrival, they did not linger and quickly boarded the flying car, seemingly with an urgent task. Before leaving, one of the guards slightly nodded in Savina's direction as a greeting. It seemed they had gotten along well. I'm fine. Lu Ling smiled and gently ruffled her hair, which finally eased Savina's worries. The two then followed Bloodshark into a spacious abandoned factory, where a strong smell of tobacco, sweat, and oil hit them immediately. In the dim light, dozens of figures were either sitting or standing, the red glow of cigarette butts flickering between their fingers. A member stepped out, and another distributed high-end cigarettes purchased from a floating city, causing a raucous cheer. How's the situation? Not as smooth as expected. The member lit a cigarette and began to exhale smoke. The bounty from Sarah had indeed stirred the waters. However, The Rust brothers were slippery and had hidden away in the fortress of the Howling City, while the perimeter patrols had tripled, spreading a lot of false information. Claiming our leader was hiding in a certain place in the Neon Port, causing those thugs to scatter in chaos, killing anyone with red hair. We had managed to avoid at least 3 waves of large-scale gang conflicts by arriving just in time. Damn, the member picked up another cigarette. Greedily taking a puff. Those 2 bastards are really good at using others to do their dirty work. They want to use this garbage to wear us down and buy time. Just a bunch of clowns. The member sneered. He had almost taken these 2 brothers out back in the day. Just then, he noticed Lu Ling approaching with Zavina, momentarily pausing and nodding to acknowledge the chief before looking at the member with a questioning gaze. The meaning was clear. Why bring someone skilled in engineering for such dangerous work? This was a direct order from the leader. I'm not sure either. The member didn't elaborate further. Are the people arranged? The member nodded, flicked the cigarette butt away, and dove into a nearby powered armor suit. Brothers, let us go? Time to get to work. The member laughed heartily, activating the nanotech armor at his waist. Instantly, a low-profile black exoskeleton covered his body. 2 trusted subordinates immediately stepped forward, securing 2 futuristic-looking railguns and a full set of pulse grenades onto his armor. Damn, here we go again. Lu Ling couldn't help but tense up as Zavina carefully installed a spare energy cell for his nanotech armor. Inside the warehouse, dozens of bright headlights suddenly illuminated the space, the strong light instantly tearing through the darkness. Lu Ling looked toward the light in shock, as he saw 35 modified heavy armored hover vehicles lined up neatly in the open area. These vehicles were massive, with thick chassis covered in reinforced composite armor plates, sharp angles exuding a sense of violent aesthetics. Each vehicle's turret was equipped with 2 astonishingly large rotary cannons and a small rocket launcher. The dark gun muzzles exuded an aura of death. Additionally, ballistic polarization devices were installed on the sides and front of the vehicles, flickering with dim light. The most eye-catching was a larger command model positioned in the center of the lineup, which lacked a cannon on top, but instead had an oval-shaped drone mother nest. Seeing this, Lu Ling directly led Zavina into this vehicle. As he opened the heavy armored door, a mix of oil, metal, and electronic components hit him in the face. Inside the cockpit, 2 familiar figures were seated in the driver's positions, checking the procedures. Chief, a shy voice came from the cockpit, and Lu Ling was somewhat surprised. It's you guys? The 2 were the plump and thin pirates who had also been the drivers when they first came to Blackwater Bay. Hee. How about working exclusively with me from now on? Lu Ling chuckled, trying to win their favor. The plump and thin men remained silent, awkwardly smiling in response. Boring. Lu Ling and Zavina squeezed into the cramped operations room in the back seat. This command vehicle had been modified with a large drone nest and a powerful radar system, greatly compressing the space, and its firepower configuration was relatively weak, retaining only a 12mm machine gun on the side for limited support. The individuals brought by Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile were clearly elite fighters. The roaring engine escalated, and 35 steel behemoths smashed through the abandoned iron warehouse. Soaring into the sky, Lu Ling chose this flying vehicle mainly to test the practicality of the EVE system equipment in the local world. In the EVE world, drones are a crucial branch. As a result, there were quite a few relevant pieces of equipment, and soon he found a relatively inexpensive target. Mini Elite Drone AI, a microchip containing modified single-crystal silicon as an integrated circuit board. This chip stored the AI code for the Elite drone. Price, 342,000 ISK. Purchase. In the next moment, Lu Ling extracted it from the hangar. The chip was oval-shaped, with brushed metal edging and a smooth mirrored glass surface, revealing its intricate internal components. The installation interface was not a problem for Lu Ling. The technology level in this world was far behind that of EVE, making it easy to integrate into the control core of the drone nest. Outside the car window, the entire Blackwater Bay was engulfed in a frenzy over 1 million ISK bounty, with all red targets subjected to indiscriminate attacks. However, most thugs only targeted the weak. No one dared provoke their massive heavy armored convoy, which carved a path through the chaotic neon abyss. Howling City and Rust City were adjacent, with a straight-line distance of less than 20 kilometers. Howling City was evidently much more prosperous than Rust City, with a false moon hanging in the sky. The desolate moonlight made Howling City appear even more eerie. 3 kilometers ahead, Bloodshark's voice came through the encrypted channel. Let's give them a round of rockets for a taste. It was a fortress transformed from abandoned industrial buildings, with thick alloy plates and twisted metal debris stacked to form a crude but solid outer wall, with several fire points flickering with dim light. In the convoy, multiple flying vehicles deployed missile launchers, and dozens of missiles shot out. Explosions erupted beneath the flames, accompanied by fierce counterattacks from the building complex. 3 kilometers passed in the blink of an eye. Ghost Crocodile and his men jumped out, with several powered armors acting as vanguards, disregarding the sparse firepower, and leaped directly from the high altitude. The impact wave upon landing sent surrounding thugs flying in screams. Lu Ling simultaneously released a drone named Poison Sting. Buzz. The oval hive door on top of the command vehicle quickly opened. Hundreds of palm-sized black drones surged out, and at that moment of release, they seemed to possess life. Instead of diving straight for their targets like ordinary drones, they instantly spread out in the air, precisely avoiding the sweeping stray bullets and anti-air weapons. This simplified drone nest consists of only two parts: reconnaissance drones and attack drones. The reconnaissance drones are responsible for scanning locations, constructing holographic sand tables, and uploading data to the operational network. The attack drones are tasked with precision strikes. After being connected to an advanced artificial intelligence program, the efficiency of these drones doubles. Bloodshark has just landed with dozens of men and rushed towards the bunker entrance, where the internal scene immediately appears in the operational network. Wow, so fast. Bloodshark gave a thumbs up to Lu Ling. He initially thought this chief was only there for personal safety due to a connection with the leader. But it turned out that aside from flirting and starships, he also had skills in combat logistics. There are ambushes at the marked locations. Prioritize clearing them. Bloodshark quickly marked the targets on the operational network, and all the Red Pirate crew members began to act in an orderly manner, taking out the gang members hiding behind cover one by one. Ghost Crocodile had already charged deep inside with two powered armors, where screams and the sound of chainsaws filled the air. The Rust Brotherhood might have some skills in Blackwater Bay, but they were insignificant in front of the Red Devils who possessed starships. The essential differences between professional pirates and ragtag gangs became evident. A swarm of attack drones swiftly entered the bunker like locusts, accurately targeting and eliminating enemy targets, even delivering finishing blows to those still alive. This impressed Bloodshark with Lu Ling's drone operation skills, thinking to himself that he truly must be a man capable of attracting the leader's attention. Boss. The people outside are all dead. Two of them ran in, one of his men said, somewhat surprised. They were responsible for clearing the perimeter, which had the most enemies. Yet they ended up being the least busy. Sure enough, not long after, Ghost Crocodile also sent a message. These drones are acting strangely. Ha. This is our chief operating them personally, Bloodshark replied proudly. Impressive. At the underground door of the bunker, Bloodshark arrived just as his subordinate carried out a massive pulse cannon. The charging sound rose from low to high until it finally let out a loud bang, breaking through the alloy door. As the door smashed open, the waiting drones surged in, and the air was filled with screams and gunfire. Brothers, follow me to kill. Bloodshark and Ghost Crocodile led the charge. A bloody indoor close-quarters battle erupted instantly. In the bunker command room, the Rust Brotherhood members turned pale, watching the drones flood in like a tide on the screen, panicking. Is this a stinger? When did stingers become so powerful? Damn it, we can't stop them. We can't hold them off at all. Buck's brother looked terrified. We shouldn't have accepted Sarah's commission. It was too late to say anything now. Butcher Buck made a decisive call: retreat. As long as we survive, we'll get back 100-fold for what we've lost. He rushed to an inconspicuous control panel in the corner of the room, ready to activate the escape route. However, just as his finger was about to press down, a loud bang echoed as the heavy alloy door of the command room suddenly caved inward. The chainsaw's rotation reached its peak, creating a visible high-temperature fire ring accompanied by a dull cutting sound, as if the whisper of death itself. Several high-explosive projectiles penetrated, causing the entire bunker to shake violently. A massive breach was torn open in the alloy door, which was sturdier than the first. Dozens of shadows flickered with deadly red glows as they surged into the command room. These drones, devoid of human emotion, commenced a ruthless slaughter, taking lives with each strike. No. The Butcher could only let out a desperate roar before being pierced through the chest by a pulse attack. His massive body fell backward like a broken sack, his eyes still filled with disbelief and terror. His brother attempted to fight back, but several drones swiftly turned their guns and soon followed in his footsteps, blood instantly splattering across the walls. The command room was in disarray. The bodies of the guards lay sprawled on the ground, while the control console sparked and emitted black smoke. The bodies of the brothers lay in a pool of blood, eyes wide open in death. This was the profession and brutality of pirates. The Bloodshark removed his helmet and mask, took out a cigarette from his storage box, and lit it, inhaling deeply. Not satisfying enough. Just then, all standby drones suddenly received an urgent command and rushed madly toward the outside of the bunker. Bloodshark and the Ghost Crocodile exchanged a knowing glance, an ominous premonition taking root. Not good. It's a trap. The chief is in danger. Chapter 57. The Yellow Sparrow. 10 minutes earlier, outside the bunker, Lu Ling was studying the drone chip produced by Eve in the command vehicle. A waterfall of information poured down on the holographic control screen as his slender fingers danced across the virtual keyboard, his gaze focused. Thanks to the powerful brain processing capabilities brought by the F gene optimization, these complex data were absorbed, analyzed, and stored at high speed, almost as if they were being downloaded, allowing him to remember everything. He was recording key parameters and analyzing the operational logic of the elite AI, preparing for possible improvements or replication in the future. This was his survival instinct since crossing over, to absorb localized knowledge and technology as much as possible. With limited funds, he referenced and compared the EVE technology system to see if he could merge the two and enhance his self-defense capabilities. Outside the vehicle, the chaos of Howling City served as a distant background noise. The gunfire and